All sports, all the time.
There's heroes and there's legends. Heroes get remembered. Legends never die.
This is the Spoken Podcast.
Hold your ears, folks. It's showtime.
I'm your host, Lance Twidwell.
Man, that kid, he can ball, man. He can ball.
Touchdown, Kansas City!
Patrick freaking Mahomes, baby!
Let's talk some sports, because that's what we're here to do.
You are tuned in to The Spoken.
This is the Spoken Podcast. I'm your host, Lance Twidwell, here inside the Starcade Media Studios with my guys, Trevor Twidwell.
What's good?
And Eddie Ortiz.
Yo.
Episode 198, in full swing, full motion. We are so happy to be here with you and for you to be here with us, whether you are live streaming, whether you are podcasting, or whether you are YouTube. We want to thank you so much for being here in this time, in the holiday season. Merry Christmas to you guys. Happy holidays to all you guys, whether you are out there traveling to family coming to you guys, or you're just here with us and you consider us your family. We appreciate you spending time with us, guys, because I know that this is that time of year where a lot's going on, a lot of chaos, hopefully a lot of good chaos for you guys, both in your personal lives, personal affairs, getting all this stuff ready. I know it's stressful for a lot of families out there in this time, whether it's financial, whether it's anything else. We hope that you guys can break away from it and come and hang out with us and talk a little sports, because I know that's why a lot of us follow and consume sports as much as we do, because it's a great escape from the norm or the chaos of life, and that is why we're here today. Man, we got a lot to get to. We're going to be definitely breaking down a lot of things when it comes to the Chiefs and Seahawks. I know that's why a lot of you guys are showing up to get our insight of what we think is going to take place this week in the frozen tundra of Arrowhead Stadium this week. It's supposed to be a very, very cold game, especially in the wind chill. I think it's supposed to be like -5, if I'm not mistaken, for the wind chill in this game. It's supposed to be in the early 20s, late teens in this one. So it's going to be a cold game. Hope you guys are all bundled up and prepared for this one. We're going to get to the Eddie Hour. I know Eddie's already got a ton to talk about across the sports landscape. We just had the World Cup finish up this last week. So I know that he's got some takeaways on that. We saw Salt Bay out there making himself look like a dumbass on this grand stage. I cannot wait to hear Eddie's thoughts on that. We're going to give out some NFL Week 16 picks. As we do each and every week, we give you guys a few of the bulletin board games that we think are notable, that we can give you guys our takes, how we see the game going, our over-unders, our spreads, all those things. We just want to give you guys our thoughts and viewpoints on a few of these games. Let's start here where it matters, where I know a lot of people are still very much hung up on a certain game that just took place last week in Houston, Texas. Chiefs took on the Houston Texans just this last Sunday. And Eddie and I were talking. Trevor, by the way, congratulations on being back on the show. He's missed the last 2 weeks for various reasons, but nevertheless, he's back this week. Still playing a little injured. I know he's got a little bit of a stomach thing going on, but nevertheless, he is back. Welcome back, Trevor, to the show. We appreciate your contributions. But we all watched this game, and something Eddie and I talked about before this one kicked off was, to me, this is a no-excuses game for the Chiefs. I get that the Chiefs have been a notorious team for playing to the level of competition and keeping games close. That had zero reason to be close, and this goes beyond just this season. We've seen this progressively over the last 3 to 4 years as well, because we know that every team the Chiefs face, especially in the Patrick Mahomes era, this is their Super Bowl. Most teams have really no shot. Roughly about a fourth of the league have real Super Bowl aspirations every single year, and the Chiefs don't face those 4 to 5 teams every single year. So we know that the better part of the NFL, every time the Chiefs face somebody, that team's going to give them their A game, because that is the notable game on their schedule. I totally get it. But the Texans came into this matchup as not only one of the worst teams in the NFL, if not the worst team in the NFL, but the worst team in the NFL that is insanely banged up across the board, missing several key players on offense alone, with Brandon Cooks, Nico Collins, Damian Pierce, all out. That's their bloodline right there of scoring contribution. Those 3 players right there, and all 3 guys were out simultaneously. And the Chiefs' defense had no excuse to not have a big game. And yet Davis Mills still managed to score 3 touchdowns, one involving him rushing to the left side for 17 yards, completely untouched. Now, the defense ultimately only allowed 219 yards of offense, so you look at the grand scheme of things, the defense didn't play that bad. In fact, they played pretty damn well. Well, especially when you consider the fact that Texans only converted 4 of their 10 third downs. But the fact that I have to point out that is something that this Chiefs defense has had a problem with all season, regardless of who they faced, is that the Texans scored 3 touchdowns and only 4 red zone trips and a field goal on the other one, which makes them 4 for 4 scoring in the red zone in this game. And the other thing is bringing real concern to the forefront when it comes to Spags defense is how they are not only 28th in takeaways this year as a defense, they're 31st in red zone defense. Allowing Russell Wilson, Brett Rypien, and Davis Mills score 7 touchdowns on you within a 2-game span, both games coming down to the wire. This is something that we have to pay close attention to because both of these ingredients can create a recipe that keeps this team from their 3rd Super Bowl trip in 4 years. And then there's the offense. I don't think I will be able to ever comprehend how the number 1 scoring offense in the NFL has failed to score a touchdown on their opening drive almost every single week this season. In fact, the Chiefs have only scored a touchdown on their opening drive twice this season, and the last time they did that on their opening drive was week 4 against the Bucks when the Bucks special teams fumbled the ball, putting the Chiefs on the 21-yard line. This is absolutely mind-boggling to me. It makes no sense to be this great offensively, to lead the league in third down percentage, lead the league in first downs, lead the league in scoring, and you can't come out there on your scripted drive, which is when it's supposed to be at your easiest, to be able to score. The Chiefs can't do it at even a halfway consistent level. They just can't do it at all, and it's very much mind-boggling. And to no one's surprise, the Chiefs came out in this game with no excuses and to come out guns blazing, score a shit ton of touchdowns, and put the game away at halftime. Instead, the Chiefs come out and had back-to-back punts on their first drives, and in fact, to put it frankly, the Chiefs decided it would be best to punt and lose a fumble on 4 of their first drives of the game. So it wasn't that they just came out and had 2 bad drives to start the game. Their first 4 of 5, they couldn't even get on their side of the field, and then fumbled the ball away, which makes 9 consecutive games with a turnover. And again, while the defense allowed Jeff Driscoll and Davis Mills to move the chains and score touchdowns early, the Chiefs just could not find themselves on offense, making this yet again another unnecessarily stressful Sunday against a team that they had no business even sharing the same field with. Now, fortunately for the Chiefs, they have the MVP Patrick Mahomes as their quarterback, who completed 20 consecutive passes to finish this game, setting a new NFL record for the highest completion percentage in a single game with 40 or more pass attempts at 88%. Not to mention the annual late season emergence of one Jarrett Clutch McKinnon, who went for 18 total touchdowns, 122 yards from scrimmage, and 2 total touchdowns. In fact, over the last 2 weeks, McKinnon has 31 total touches for 256 yards from scrimmage and 4 total touchdowns. Although Isaiah Pacheco is the Chiefs' running back 1 and has played very well this season, and although Travis Kelce is still very much Patrick Mahomes' number 1 receiving option, Jerick McKinnon has become the most dynamic, game-changing player for Patrick Mahomes in this offense over this last month. And when things got tight versus the Broncos, when they got tight versus the Texans, Patrick Mahomes continuously looked and went McKinnon's way far more times than not, and in far more times than not, it resulted in positive yards, if not scoring plays. Either way, McKinnon is the hot hand right now, and I am fully anticipating that unless something changes, that playoff peak has already begun, and the Chiefs need to continue feeding him because he's special in this offense when given the opportunity to be. And I want to talk about Patrick Mahomes just briefly here because I know we can definitely dive into it because he had an incredibly efficient game. He was unbelievable in the game, especially down the stretch, even though it shouldn't have had to come to that. We can talk about this. Patrick had some of the most insane throws of his career in this game. I know that people overlook it now and they don't marvel at it like they used to in 2018 because it was so new and so fresh. But he had this one pass. It was a 56-yard pass in the air, in the back of the end zone, where he's running to his right and had 2 defenders crashing down on him. Throws the ball perfectly to Justin Watson, who ultimately dropped the ball. It landed right in his hands. And this is where I want to bring in McCole Hardman because I think this is where the Chiefs really missed him. I saw our guys not calling him out at all, but I wanted to bring it up because I watched the show. I'm a big fan of their show, and we're fellow Starcade Media members here. Arrowhead Allies had talked about their 5. They went across the board, and they had their 5 most important receiving options or weapons, offensive weapons for Patrick Mahomes, not named Travis Kelce. And I think only one guy on the entire show had McCole Hardman even in their top 5. But as we've talked about on this show over the last several weeks since McCole's been out, and especially in this game that I wanted to point out, in that particular moment, it's beyond ridiculous to consider that McCole Hardman is not one of the most valuable pieces and assets on this offense this season, especially since Tyreek Hill's been gone, because he adds so much speed and durability more times than not. This is the first season he's missed any games to this equation, that when you don't have that on the offense at all, you have to start relying on guys like Justin Watson. And no offense to Justin Watson, because I think the guy's played well. But there's a reason why he's been primarily a special teams player in his career. He's made plays for the Chiefs this season, and I appreciate his hard work and effort because he's a hard-working guy. He's diligent. He's a team-first kind of guy. He's a guy you want to have on the team, no matter what your team's situation is, whether you're a Super Bowl contender or whether you're a team still building. A guy like Justin Watson is always good to have. But the man has limitations, and I feel far more comfortable if McCole Hardman or Kadarius Toney is getting those snaps and those pass attempts than Justin Watson. This is why I hammered the table so many times on this show, on the Chiefs Concern show, about if the Chiefs can go get OBJ, go get him. He might be a guy that plays late December, early January, but if I know OBJ is getting pass attempts over Justin Watson, I feel a lot better about that as an offense because OBJ is a far superior athlete and player than a Justin Watson. But Patrick Mahomes was unbelievable in this game, and I wanted to put that out there because, I mean, completing 20 consecutive passes, regardless of who you're facing in the NFL, is nothing short of incredible. And when you complete 88% of your 41 pass attempts while still throwing the ball over 7 yards on average, that is just simply an incredibly efficient game, and it put Patrick Mahomes 100% back at the top of the MVP award, in my opinion. It was an unbelievable performance, had a rushing touchdown, a 2-point conversion to add to the equation. And this is considering the fact that Justin Watson dropped a 56-yard ball, and even Patrick Mahomes missed Justin Watson on the opening drive that probably would have been a touchdown.
Yeah.
Something else that I know has sparked controversy across Chiefs fans that I want to address directly, because even Eddie and I have had some spirited debates over the last week about it, because I've thought about it, and I want to make this I want to make sure this wasn't just an emotional reaction to this particular game. And so I've really thought about it, and I want to get Trevor and Eddie's direct thoughts on this as well once I hand it off to them. But this is something I'm going to say, and I'm going to say confidently right now. And it might bite me in the ass, and if it does, that's actually a good thing, because that means the Chiefs are in good hands at this position. But in my opinion, at this current time, I think the Chiefs need to move on from Harrison Butker after this season. Butker suffered an ankle injury during the Week 1 matchup versus the Cardinals and missed an additional 4 games due to that same injury. So dealing with rust was something that was supposed to be expected. Missing field goals is something you can expect for the first 2+ weeks after his return, because it's obviously a leg injury, and your leg is everything when it comes to kicking. The problem, however, is after that third week back, Butker has missed 3 extra point attempts and 3 field goal attempts. And it wasn't just that he missed those kicks. It's that he's missing them in games the Chiefs absolutely needed him to make it. It'd be one thing if these were in 41-10 blowouts. Like, you're like, oh, well, shit, man, come on. Like, all right, we can live with it. They're up 5 scores. Like, it's no big deal. These are in games in crucial situations where they needed Harrison Butker to make these field goals, and he was missing them. For instance, in a close game versus the Titans, Butker missed both a PAT and a field goal attempt that would have put the Chiefs up an entire touchdown, which would have changed the entire dynamic of the game, because the Titans didn't feel, due to those misses, that they needed to throw the ball. That's why they ran the ball so many times. The game was within a possession. In a game, the Chiefs had multiple opportunities to win in Cincinnati versus the Bengals. Butker missed a 55-yard field goal that would put the Chiefs up, or that tied the Chiefs, 27-27 with the Bengals, with 3:24 left in the game. And again, I know folks will defend him because of the distance, but what was Butker's get out of jail free card that he's had since he signed in 2017? What was his saving grace, and what has always distracted us from his infuriatingly inexplainable missed PATs throughout the last 4+ years? that he would sink these 50-plus yard clutch field goals, and then all that angst and anger went away. Well, now he's starting to miss those, and it strips away that confidence myself alongside most Chiefs fans have shared when it comes to Butker getting the job done. And then all the way up to Sunday in Houston, in a game that's close for all these ridiculous reasons, Butker had the chance to be the savior and put the Texans away in regulation. Instead, he missed another PAT, and when Patrick leads the Chiefs down the field goal range of the Texans 33 with 8 seconds to go remaining in the game, the Chiefs would have won 27-24 in regulation. Harrison Butker instead misses a 51-yard field goal in a dome. Despite missing essentially 5 games this season, Harrison Butker has missed the second most PATs in the league while ranking 16th in PAT made percentage. Despite being 17th in field goal attempts, Harrison Butker ranks 19th in field goal percentage made. And I know the excuse, again, that is he's been battling and working his way back from an injury, and it's still floating around there. People are using that ad nauseum. I get it. But this isn't a 2022 problem with Harrison Butker. Do you guys know who has the most missed PATs since the 2017 season? Harrison Butker with 18. This is a problem. Especially when Butker, again, is now missing those big clutch kicks that have justified him keeping his job in the past. Which is what makes Chiefs former longtime punter Dustin Colquitt's comments about it being current Chiefs punter Tommy Townsend's ball positioning being even more ridiculous as to why Butker has this slide, because through 2017 to 2019, when Colquitt was Butker's placeholder, Butker missed 17 total field goal attempts with Colquitt. That's nearly 6 misses a season. I have lost my faith and confidence in Harrison Butker. And I think the Chiefs need to spend some time this offseason to find an adequate replacement. And here's the best thing about finding his replacement, if the Chiefs ultimately go this route. It wouldn't be nearly as difficult as finding a new offensive tackle or edge rusher or really any other position. And outside of Justin Tucker, we can all agree no kicker in this league is safe. I mean, hell, Adam Vinatieri won Tom Brady's first 3 Super Bowls, and the Patriots moved off of him when he still had plenty left in that leg, seeing he played another 14 seasons with the Colts and was awesome all the way up to about the last year and some change. And I also think that folks forget how and where the Chiefs got Butker back in 2017. This is the most important part of it all. The man was literally just sitting on the Panthers practice squad. He was an unknown who quickly became a well-known due to the opportunities. And he capitalized. That first year and a half, man, Butker was nails. Didn't miss a single PAT his first season as the Chiefs kicker. And in 2018 was even better. There are many Harrison Butkers out there. And the Chiefs can and will find them at a much cheaper price as well. If you're going to have someone missing field goals and PATs, you can't be paying them over $4 million a year like they're paying Harrison Butker with a $3 million cap hit next season. And then finally, we have to discuss the biggest issue in this game. And then I'm going to turn it over to you guys and get your reactions on this one. And it is in no way to deflect from the issues the Chiefs have and put on full display in this game where they had their 9th consecutive week with at least 1 turnover, the fact they can't stop a runny nose on defense in the red zone, and so on. But the NFL has a very, very real officiating problem. You know what's funny is that we've spent all these years looking for a true rival for Patrick Mahomes when Carl Sheffers has been sitting there all along. You know you have to be awful at your job when you find a way to take away from the attention from the Chiefs struggling against a 1-win Texans team. It got so bad at times in this game that I honestly thought Carl Sheffers was going to go back in the locker and throw in a Texans jersey just to make this shit official. And as I told JD and Marcus on the Chief Concern postgame show, I honestly believe that at one point in that game, Carl Sheffers had more pass attempts with those flags than Patrick Mahomes did with the football. I mean, there was a point in the game, late in the game, where Sheffers and his crew had thrown and picked up 3 consecutive flags. They threw the flags and then looked up at the big old screen to see if there was anything that happened. And then Sheffers waved them all off. I've never seen that in my life. And I've been watching football for 3+ decades. Patrick Mahomes got chucked to the ground in excessive fashion. According to the NFL's new rules to protect their money-making quarterbacks, that is letter of the law, roughing the passer. And there was no flag. Remember that Carl Sheffers is the same official that penalized Chris Jones with roughing the passer when Chris Jones took the ball out of Derek Carr's throwing hand while falling on top of Derek Carr back in their Week 5 matchup. We saw Jerick McKinnon in this game against the Texans get called for a blindside block for blocking a player that was running directly at Jerick McKinnon. And then they allowed the Texans to review a play because Juju Smith-Schuster caught a pass on the play, had his forward progress stopped, then dropped the ball, and the Texans claimed to have recovered the ball. You're not allowed to challenge forward progress plays, yet Sheffers allowed the Texans to do so with some pretty language saying the ball came out simultaneously with the forward progress being stopped. They then hit Chief safety Juan Thornhill with an illegal contact when a Texans receiver ran directly into him about 20 yards down the field. In fact, it was into the end zone. Thornhill was standing there. The receiver runs right into him, knocking Thornhill down. It's illegal contact on Juan Thornhill. It is clear, it is evident. Carl Sheffers has a vendetta. How do I know this? According to Gary McKenzie, the Chiefs are now 1-6 against the spread in their last 7 games where Carl Sheffers has been the referee. The chances of that happening is 5.5%. According to Preston Farr, 21.9% of the Chiefs' penalties have occurred in only 14% of their games this season. The 2 games that were officiated by Carl Sheffers and his group. For 2 seasons in a row, Kansas City has the second most penalized team by Sheffers and his crew. And according to Christopher Mauder, in 15 years as a head ref, Carl Sheffers' crew has penalized the Chiefs 143 times, most in the NFL, and for a total of 1,240 yards, second most of any team. The average team caught 86 flags, which is just about 60 flags less, and 740 yards, which is literally 50% of the yardage that Sheffers has thrown against the Chiefs. I'm not someone who believes that the teams and players and coaches rig games. I do not believe that. But I am watching clowns like Carl Sheffers do all that they can to dictate outcomes of games, along with emergence of betting and gambling in the NFL, convenient timing for suspensions for certain players. I cannot help but wonder if the NFL isn't bound to inevitably have their own Tim Donaghy on their hands. And if I had to make my guess as to who their own Tim Donaghy is, I'd say look no further than Carl Sheffers, who after Sunday's embarrassment should not be allowed to officiate another game for the NFL. He is horrible at his job. He is an embarrassment. And although I am not someone who normally calls for people to lose their jobs, I am someone who is calling for Carl Sheffers to lose his because he doesn't deserve the opportunity. It is clear and evident that he officiates the Chiefs significantly different than any team in the NFL, and you cannot trust him to officiate any further. And I think it all stems, honestly, in my opinion, it all stems from Travis Kelce back in 2016 and the end of the 2017 season when James Harrison had that horrific penalty, and Travis Kelce called him, or said that he's a zebra, he shouldn't work at Foot Locker, calling him out to the media. This has felt personal ever since that time because Sheffers has officiated the Chiefs 8 times since then, and every single game has been very similar to this. And it would be one thing if this was a league-wide issue with Carl Sheffers. It's not. It's obvious that it has reached a personal level, and even though officials are still human, they of all positions in this league have to remove as much human error and element from the equation. That is not something Carl Sheffers is capable of doing when officiating the Chiefs. And when it comes to the Chiefs in totality in this game, Jason Dunn did say something that was very interesting. He made mention on the Chief Concern postgame show that late in seasons against inferior opponents, players and teams can get lazy and lose focus and ultimately make games look closer than they should have been. And I do believe that did play a part in these last 2 games because the Chiefs knew they were significantly better than both the Broncos and Texans. The problem is the Chiefs have had glaring issues consistently throughout the season regardless of who they face, and had they beaten the Bills or Bengals, I'd credit those reasons to these last 2 games a lot more than I do now. I am still predicting that the Chiefs will end up the season with the 1 seed. They will host the AFC Championship. They will get back to the Super Bowl, and I do believe they will win the Super Bowl. But they have some real work to do before any of those things are going to occur. Trevor, Chiefs-Texans takeaway, all the aspects, offense, defense, special teams, officiating. Give me your thoughts on these, man.
We continue the Achilles heel of this team continues to be turnovers. Like you said, doesn't matter who we play. Doesn't matter if it's a good team or a bad team or a team we know we're a lot better than. We still continue to give these teams chances in great field position by turning the ball over consistently in a plethora of ways. That's the most frustrating thing to me that I watch every single week is we're so good, we're so talented. I'm not even blaming the defense as much as I am just the fact that we cannot hold the ball and continue to give life to these teams that don't have life, that are trying to, that are set up to get the first pick in the NFL draft. Granted, I will say this Houston's team has completely flipped their entire script on how they've been playing. They've been playing the 2 rotational quarterbacks, playing a lot of speed option and things like that. So that, getting film on them, when they just started doing that last week against the Cowboys, and they should have damn near beat the Cowboys the week before they played us. They're a team that had some kind of juice, and I am a full believer in any given Sunday. We saw that last year when the laughing stock of the NFL last year, the Jacksonville Jaguars, absolutely de-pantsed the Bills, one of the best teams in football. Things like that just happen. You know what I mean? So us going in there and struggling against I knew we were going to play down to their level. We always do this. This is not a surprise. I knew we would win. Didn't think it would go to overtime. That was embarrassing. But at the same time, I knew I knew the spread was an absolute joke. Us being up, by in the teens anytime, to me, honestly, is just a joke. We just never cover those kind of spreads. We easily could. We could go run it up on teams if we really, really wanted to, but that's just never been Andy Reid's style. He's not a guy that likes to go out there and embarrass someone. He's just, even if it's a personal vendetta with the team that he doesn't like, there's some kind of beef between the rosters, even the Bengals games, it doesn't matter. Yeah. Andy Reid, that's just never been his style. He's a classy guy. He's a gentleman. He likes to, keep things cordial and not give any juice to the other team. Unfortunately, there's nothing more juice-giving and life-giving and providing than turning the ball over to the opposition and on their side, and that when you're in your own territory and completely flipping the field. And that, to me, has been what's made our defense struggle as of late, because our defense has been playing well leading into these past couple weeks. If we're all being honest, it's been playing good until this last couple weeks. We've been allowing bad quarterbacks to absolutely, have their best games arguably against us, and I think the biggest contributor to that is us turning the ball over and giving them life, and giving them damn near, within 30 to 40 yards of the end zone every time. That's going to allow the opposition to get momentum and score points, regardless of who it is. It's any given Sunday. These are all NFL players. They're all out there who have the same goal as you. So that, to me, I think a lot of people are a little too down on our defense, if I'm being honest with you. We do need to get more pressure, and we need to get more sacks 100%. But this last game last week, Chris Jones was obviously not feeling well. He was not on the field that much. When he was out there, he just did not look like he was who we know he is. And when Chris Jones is not out there, it really, really shows. Frank Clark was out there trying to make plays. He had a couple good plays that he made in big moments of that game. It shouldn't have mattered at that point, but he was out there still making plays, looked pretty good. But outside of that, we got to get pressures. We got to get stops defensively, but we got to stop setting these teams up to put them immediately in scoring positions. That, to me, is what's caused our defense to really kind of backpedal a little bit here. I'm not blaming them or Spags, really. I think they've really done good leading into these past couple games, if I'm being honest. It's still unacceptable to go into overtime with the Texans. I still think that's unacceptable. I knew it was going to be a close game. I thought we would put up more points, honestly, than we did. Pat played a damn near flawless game. So the fact that is overshadowed by going to overtime and barely pulling out a win against the Texans, regardless if it's home or road, that doesn't matter. This is a team that we should have easily just moonwalked through this game, but unfortunately it didn't. We continued to turn the ball over. There are bright points though. The last couple of weeks, McKinnon has looked incredible. He's been playing that Damian Williams role that was significant in our Super Bowl run. Yeah. It was literally, that's what it felt like. That's what this has been feeling like as of late, and that's a significant role. And Pacheco's been running his ass off. I know that fumble was unacceptable. It was just a strange one because he had both hands on the ball and still managed to pop out. an odd fumble.
Yeah.
But I really believe in that kid. He's running his ass off. I really like what I'm seeing from him. He's an extremely confident kid, and I think he's going to bounce back just fine. So I like the thunder and lightning that we have right now going on at the running back position. I want to see more from Sky Moore still. But Juju obviously had he had 10 catches against the you know what I mean?
And last week before they had 9 against the Broncos.
Another touchdown. So a big game, milestone game for him. I'm glad he's getting some of those bonuses that he was, that were hanging in front of him this season going into this year, so I'm glad he's reaching some of these milestones for him this season. I think he's got a good solid future here in Kansas City if we decide to keep him around here for the next coming few years. So Juju's coming on as of late, coming back from that that concussion. It was good to see him really get out there and find consistent separation. Granted, it's the Texans' defense. Their secondary is bad. The whole defense is pretty much bad for the most part. Outside of their run stuffing defense is fairly good. But yeah, it was good to see Juju get going. Hopefully Pat can continue this little streak he's on right now and break that record, the completion record. That'd be pretty cool to see.
Hell yeah.
He was incredible, dude. That was the most frustrating thing to me was Pat was just playing so good, so clean, and that's exactly what we wanted to see out of Pat after coming off that 3 interception performance, which was really hard for us all to watch, especially against the Broncos, who's a team that we absolutely loathe. Seeing that was just really hard to watch. So seeing him come back and play an absolutely damn near flawless game was really good to see, and that's really good for him, regardless of who's on the other side of the field, who he's playing. It doesn't matter. Getting those reps in and getting those clean reps in, not him, clearing his head, not getting any boneheaded plays out there was important for Pat alone. So I think leading into these next few games to finish this season, I think that's important. A nice little momentum for him to continue to roll on. So
yeah,
overall the game was very underwhelming. Obviously. Way too close, way too stressful than it should have been. I definitely expected it to be within a score and a half, just because like I said, we just don't put teams away like that unless it's like the best defenses in the league. We just go out there and put mountains of points on them for some reason. But when it's a team that's trying to get the first round pick and first overall pick, we just like to keep it close for some reason. So. Overall performances, I mean, we played well. I mean, defensively, it looked bad. It was a little, stacked on against them because of the turnovers, but defense still got to be better regardless. Our secondary is struggling right now. A lot of young guys, and I said from the beginning of this year when we did our preview, I didn't think it'd be later in the year, but I said there's going to be some growing pains. And you got to give McDuffie some credit here. He allowed a couple catches in that game. But still, I mean, this kid hasn't even played, he missed a lot of the season this year, so he's still really kind of getting his reps in right now. These are very important reps down the stretch here heading into the postseason for him. So, this defense is going to be better. This defense is going to get better. I think that starts this week. I think this starts these last 3 games of the year. That this defense is really going to find their rhythm, and that's how it was, like in 2019. Granted, there was a lot more veterans and guys that have been there and done it on that roster, and we are balling towards the last 4 or 5 games of that year in 2019, leading into that run to the Super Bowl. And we still allowed a lot of points in the postseason. You know what I mean? So, but we found ways to get back from it. I still have full trust in Spags to get his guys in the right place at the right time. We just have so much youth and inexperience in this team. There's going to be massive letdowns. And I mean, I'm not wanting to harp on the officiating too much, but yeah, there was a lot of the consistent trend between Sheffers and the Chiefs for some reason. It is a real thing. I do believe that. I'm not a guy that's going to sit here and bash the refs and act like they're responsible for our turnovers, because we 100% were the reason we kept this game close. But there were a lot of suspect calls that were that kept us honestly from having a bigger offensive performance than we did.
Right.
I don't like the games when they're dictating, big penalties, third downs when our defense is absolutely ready to get that, should have had those teams off the field easily. And we get stupid PIs that were absolutely just terrible calls, defensive holding that was, all the defender did was hold or touch and feel the offensive player and they call it a PI. It's just stuff like that, man. You got to let the players figure those out. Do not dictate the game by giving them a 40-yard penalty, 30-yard penalty down the field because the defender was feeling the guy, feeling his hips. Like, that's just what you do. If he's grabbing his face mask, grabbing his jersey, that's one thing, but that's not what was happening. That is extremely frustrating, and the trend continues for Sheffers here, and that's, as a Chiefs fan, that boils your blood 100%. So I understand everyone's frustrations with that, but we got to be better on all sides of the field, especially And I'll end it with this: especially in special teams, which I think is the second biggest thing outside of turnovers. That is the Achilles heel for this team. It's been we've dealt with the punt returns, outside of punts, outside of what's our punter's name again?
Tommy Townsend.
Tommy Townsend, sorry. Outside of him being great, he's won a couple awards already this year. He's an incredible punter.
Did you hear that Dustin Cole quit?
Hey, it doesn't matter what anyone says. It doesn't matter. The facts are the facts are on paper. The facts are on paper. So argue with ghosts. I don't really care at this point. But yeah, outside of him being an incredible punter this year, Bucker has struggled. Well, we've seen all the greats outside of maybe Justin Tucker, but even Justin Tucker's missed an extra point this year. I think I think Bucker's only missed one more this year than he is. So I mean, these guys go through slumps, and he is, regardless of how you feel about it, Lance, he has been dealing with a high ankle sprain this year. That is something that will linger for a long time. I have experienced a couple of those in my life, and that's just something, even in the cold weather, especially when the temperatures start dropping, that it's that much more tight. It's that much more just a nagging thing. He should be over it, but I think it's going to take an entire offseason for him to fully recover from that.
That's why I said that if this was starting this year, where he was missing a lot of PATs and characteristically, it's clearly the injury.
It has been worse this year, I think, than ever.
Well, he's missed 3 PATs this year.
Yeah.
He has 18 since 2017. So 15 of them happened from 2017.
But if you look at the list, a lot of those guys, there's a guy above him who's an all-time great, Mason Crosby, who had an absolutely atrocious year a year ago. And the Packers stuck with him, but he's an all-time scoring field goal or kicker. You know what I mean? So guys like that, and he's so young, man. I think he can turn it around.
Then that's what I'll say. Not because you're right. Mason was horrible last year.
Yeah.
The difference though is that Mason was 39.
Sure.
Harrison's 27.
Sure, but
it does matter. It does matter.
He was 39 last year, which means he's 40 this year, and he's one of the best this year.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So even guys that old can turn it around.
Butker in that same category because Mason can make the Hall of Fame.
And I will say, I mean, one of the most replaceable outside of the elite of the elites. There's always like 2 or 3 that are absolutely just elite above the rest in the league, typically. And Harrison Butker has been one of those guys with Justin Tucker and guys like Graham Gano. Yeah. Some of the big boots. I think Bass from Buffalo has become one of the best kickers in the league too. That guy's incredible in some terrible conditions as well. Yeah. But it's hard to be a kicker in this league sometimes, man, especially when you're in a slump. It's like Andy Reid said, it's like a golf swing. It's like a batter swing. When you're in a slump, we've seen all the greats. We've seen Tiger Woods go through terrible slumps. We've seen some of the best baseball hitters. We've seen Barry Bonds go through slumps where they're just striking out left and right, and then all of a sudden they hit 5 straight home runs. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how it is. And I think Bucker's young enough. I will say, I think that is one of the most replaceable outside of maybe a punter. A lot of the special team positions is one of the most replaceable positions in football. So if we find a guy that we think has a better opportunity, but we've seen try to replace him when he was hurt and brought Matt Amendola in here, and it was an absolute shit show, right? So it's hard to replace the good ones, and I still believe Bucker is one of the good ones in this league. I do. I think he's young enough to where he can turn it around and find his foot again. And we could talk about the bad blunders he's had, but he's also hit some of the biggest kicks in Chiefs history.
That's the problem.
And has the record for in Arrowhead Stadium. So
that's the problem.
I try to measure out the good with the bad here.
Yeah.
But as of late, it's been rough to watch, and missing extra points in my mind is 100% unacceptable in football. Especially in domes, especially in at home when it's basically a chip shot at this point. I know they pushed him back over the last few years to make him a little more difficult, but there's just no real excuse, and he knows that. Bucker knows there's no excuse to miss extra points, and I think every kicker knows that. You have one job. You practice all week to do one thing, and if you go out there and you miss it. Points are points, man. Points are a premium in this game, so that's rough. And I do believe he can turn it around, and I do believe I know what he's capable of. We've all seen it as well. He's a part of the greatest moment of my life as a Chiefs fan. He's hit some of the biggest kicks in that stretch, getting that that championship. So I have faith in him. But at the same time, if we decide if the Chiefs, because all in all, it's going to come down to their decision and what they think needs to happen. If they decide to go elsewhere and move on from Bucker, I'm 100% on board with that as well, because I am one of the guys that I preach it all the time. It's not easy to do, but I tend to be one of those guys that I try my best not to get emotionally too personally attached to players. I just always want whoever the best guy is for that job on the field.
Yeah.
I try to. It's hard sometimes as a Chiefs fan, right? So, but as a sports fan in general, to not get too attached to certain players. But if Bucker is backpedaling and he's losing it, we do need to replace him. 100%, and I think that's obviously not our decision, but if they do decide to do that, I'm on board with it, because I want someone who's the best man for the job, period. I don't care if it's quarterback. I don't care what position it is. You know what I mean? I want the best person for the job. And we can't be losing games because of turnovers and kicks. We just can't. They can't afford that when you have the best quarterback in the world and you have some of the best. You have the best tight end in the world. A team that has championship aspirations. We're not going to lose by failing the little things. When you have the best at those positions, the quarterback and tight end, and important places like that, and you have arguably the best coach in football, losing by the little things is unacceptable.
Right.
Those have to be just no brainer.
They have to be shirt up.
Right. So that's my take on most of those things, man.
God damn.
We had a lot to say, man.
I've been gone for 2 weeks, bro. I'm just letting my load off.
I'm going to make it short. The game sucked. All right. Now to you, Lance.
It did.
I'm just kidding.
Really
That's the hard-hitting analysis I need right there. That's that hard-hitting analysis.
Now we're talking. No. Offensive-wise, this game was beautiful by Patrick Mahomes. The offense was clicking. The offense was doing its things, but the turnovers is what's killing this offense. It's what's preventing this offense to flourish like how we expect it to be, like how we know this offense can be.
Yeah.
That is something we discussed last week. We talked about last week. That is the biggest concern that the Chiefs have right now, and the biggest thing that they have to work on is turnovers. Kind of like the same as last year. And I talked about how last year we went from turning the ball over to almost not turning the ball over completely, eradicating that. And this year it's been completely the opposite, to where we didn't turn the ball over, and now we're just constantly, game after game, turning it over as the season progresses.
Games.
Yeah, as the season progresses.
It's ridiculous.
So it's just those little things that you have to correct. But the good thing about that is that it's something that can be corrected. That's something that the players can work on. It's like better grip on the ball, better two-hand touch, whatever they used to say back in the day when I was two-hand touch when you're playing football. Just be confident when you have the ball. You know what I mean? And I promise you that this offense, if we can work on those turnovers and do no turnovers or the bare minimum, this offense is going to keep on growing. But we have to work on it, and I hope we do, and I hope the players learn from each and every game that they've done a turnover from. And I love how Andy Reid, like when a player turns over the ball, I love how Andy Reid goes gives them the ball either the drive after they give them the ball directly in. Like, they'll run the ball with Pacheco, or they'll give it to whoever fumbled, and kind of get their confidence back, just so they don't get in this slump kind of thing, and they get worse as the weeks goes on, and like that, it gives them boost, gives them confidence. Okay, if the coach trusts me, then I'm gonna give him a reason why he's trusting me. I think other than the turnovers, the offensive wise, it was a great game. Defense, just not being able to get to the quarterback is something that bothers me a lot.
Couldn't get to Davis Mills, bro.
It wasn't even a great offensive line. We can't even sit here and say, well, the Texans have the third best.
They do have Laramie Tunsil, who's maybe the best left tackle right now in football outside of Trent Williams. You're right. No, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, that's no excuse.
Just throwing that out there.
No, but I mean, that's no excuse. That's zero excuse. Yeah. You have to bring the quarterback down. You just have to. You can't just, if you can't get to it, don't just stop there and say, I can't get to it. That's what a lot of players I've seen been doing, where they can't get to the quarterback and they're just kind of like they don't even try anymore. So the linebackers have to come in or try and tackle the quarterback. It's very frustrating seeing that. Seeing I'm gonna say it, no-name quarterbacks just destroy this defense.
Say it, man. You got to put that out there.
Yeah.
They went on a was it like an 85-yard drive or something like that?
Right.
You can't, man. The Texans are a 1-13 team or 1-11 team.
1-11-1.
1-11-1 team. I get it. Us Chiefs fans have seen in the past to where the worst team defeats the best team, and I'm going back to 2012 when we beat the Packers. the fucking undefeated Packers. Undefeated.
Or
And then
we beat the Seahawks when they won the Super Bowl that
With
year
the Super
too.
Bowl,
Yeah,
yeah,
one of the best teams of all time.
It's just crazy. I was actually at that game too.
Yeah.
It's crazy. The main focus for me is putting the pressure on the quarterback. It's something we are lacking. Something we have to address. We have to do something about that. Put this defensive line, like, work extra hours or something, but they're struggling as of late. They struggled against the Broncos to bring Russell Wilson down. They did bring him down, and they took him out the game, but during that whole game, Russell was just doing his thing. In this game, both quarterbacks for the Texans were doing their thing, and these aren't top-tier quarterbacks, second-tier quarterbacs. These are
Bottom.
yeah. No disrespect to them, but the Texans are just not a good team. And the penalties. Some of these penalties, I know you guys talked about the Sheffers and how he flags a lot of this, a lot on the Chiefs, gives them a lot of flags. But some of these plays is like, bro, why are you holding? Like, some of these plays were actual penalties. Like,
For sure.
A couple of those were pass interference, and you're like, bro, why? Like, what is the need for that? You know what I mean? Like, the ball wasn't even probably catchable. If you had just been in his face, he would have just probably still dropped it or something. There's no need for, like, when that dude pulled I can't remember who it was, where he just grabbed his shirt and then pull it all the way back.
Yeah,
like, that's gonna get called every single time. I can't even debate that. I can't even say it's like, well, that's not even a pass interference. No, like, dude, that's straight up. Like, that's a flag. So the defensive backs, safeties, corners, they have to work on penalties. They have made so many mistakes in the past couple weeks. Trent McDuffie has a lot of holding, a lot of pass interference lately. I know it's something that they can learn, and that they can get away from. They can get away with some of this stuff, but when you have like a ref who obviously, like Len says, has a vendetta against you, the minimal thing you do, it's gonna get called. So try avoiding that. I know you get away with it in some games, in some games you don't. So just try and eliminate some of the flags, some of the unnecessary flags. 3rd and longs, there's no need for you to hold on 3rd and longs. Like, just, try and stick with the player. I know it's the NFL, and I know I'm just a fan, but you get paid millions of dollars. Just, it's a 3rd and long. I'm sure you can do stop the ball by not doing pass interference or holding. Yeah. It's just frustrating seeing this defense just go from good to bad against bad teams. It's crazy because I know this defense it's good, and I know it can compete. And for some reason against bad teams, this defense just completely forgets how to play sometimes. It's just, I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Well, I'll say this in response to what you were talking about, like getting the quarterback. This game was very frustrating because the biggest reason for me is because, one, these are terrible quarterbacks you're facing, right? 2, the Chiefs are 4th in the league in sacks this year. If there was a game you're going to tally them up, it's this game.
Or the Bengals, yeah.
Yeah, and that's actually the point I was going to get to. So the Chiefs right now are 4th in the league in sacks with 43. That's incredible. That's incredible.
Couldn't get to the quarterback
against Joe Burrow and Josh Allen.
When we needed the most,
2 sacks total, and that sack against Joe Burrow was a joke because he slid and let Karlaftis get him.
Up.
He gave himself up. So you really only had 1 true sack in the 2 biggest games of your regular season.
And, that one sack against Joe Burrow, it was meaningless pretty much.
That's what I'm saying. He just slid.
Yeah,
exactly. He was just trying to kill the clock. So you've only had 1 true sack against the 2 best quarterbacks you faced all season. I will say, though, that the Chiefs have been impressive when you almost don't expect it. Against Justin Herbert, a quarterback that can evade pressure despite having a bad quarterback. Chiefs sacked him 7 times in their 2 matchups this year. Yeah. Against Trevor Lawrence, one of the least sacked quarterbacks in the league, one of the best offensive lines in football, sacked him 5 times.
We are their Bengals.
So it's so confusing how the Chiefs do this. So that's why I'm frustrated as well.
And it goes to my point where this defense, like, goes to the level of their competition for some odd reason. bad quarterbacks, defense plays bad.
But you know where that starts. That's a coaching,
That's coaching.
a
Yeah, that's
mentality
coaching.
thing, and that's why the most frustrating thing to me sometimes is I want to see dog in us sometimes defensively. You know what I mean? I will say Chris Jones is probably the most consistent guy with that.
Absolutely.
And he, for some reason, gets fucking penalized for it on weeks, and we lose games because he hurts feelings. You know what I mean? So there's too many times where we're the ones getting bullied. We're the ones getting the ball punched out. You know what I mean? That's why I like the way Isaiah Pacheco, even though he did fumble, he runs at guys.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Sometimes we play a little timid, and I hate that.
And I think that comes to head coaching. I think Andy Reid kind of like tells the players better not fucking do.
Yeah,
we've seen it again in the press conference when he was talking about the safety Justin Reed.
Yeah,
it's like we don't do that here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Strong arm your guys a little bit more.
So
man.
it's like he probably tells the team, it's like you guys better not talk trash, don't do like dumb penalties or whatever.
Yeah.
And I get it, but there has to be an extent to that. You know, if you're getting bullied, you're getting trash talk, you have to respond. You can't just stand there and just take it and, you know, make the game close.
Yeah.
And you have to get like Trevor said, you got to get that dog in you. And
yeah,
make
we're too
plays.
far behind on the ratio of turnovers to our forced turnovers. We're way too behind on that, and that's what's most. If anything, as a defense should give you juice, and you see your offense turn the ball over, you want to go get that ball back. I just don't see that enough from this defense to where like we need to go give me that ball back. That's what I miss about guys like Eric Berry, Tom Bahali, Jared Allen, the guys like that were just like they were just whatever they're trying to get that wrong.
And that's because those guys had a nucleus in place of a defense that knew how to get after the quarterback on a consistent basis. Because I give the Chiefs credit for getting to the quarterback in the sack column.
Yep.
They do it well this year, much better than they did last year. They got 30
finished plays.
Yeah, they had 31 sacks all of last season. They already have 43 this year with 3 games to go. So they're going to get roughly 50 sacks this year, which is incredible anytime you do it. But there's context to it. The Chiefs are also only getting to the quarterback when they blitz. That's a problem because when you blitz, you're giving up at least one linebacker, one cornerback, or both, which means that with the passing game being as easy as it's been against the Chiefs' passing defense this year, that's something you can't really afford, especially in the playoffs when you're going to be facing, at worst, a Lamar Jackson or at worst, a Tua Tagovailoa. 2 guys that can put up numbers.
And to me, that's what's the most frustrating thing about our defensive line is when we have one of the best nose tackles in the league in Chris Jones, our edge guys got to get there more often. When we're bringing 4, because that's the way you win in the league, the modern day league now. You got to drop because it's such a passing league. Our edge guys got to get there, man.
I personally, I'm expecting more from Karlaftis as well. I haven't seen too much of him. He's been okay. He's been okay, but he's
solid.
He's definitely behind expectation of what everybody thought.
He's been better as of
You know what I
late.
mean?
Yeah.
He's fallen behind on expectations, and I want him to get that. I believe he has that dog in him. I believe he is that
motor,
player.
for sure.
Yeah, I believe he is that player that we all believe he is.
Yeah.
And he just has to show me that he has passion for this, you know.
I see that.
For the
I just
game.
don't see the results.
I just don't. Exactly. I don't see
Yeah.
it. He gets to the quarterback occasionally. He constantly gets stopped at the offensive line. He can't get past. It's frustrating. I just want to see a little bit more from him. Frank Clark has
had
been
a really good game.
Yeah,
actually,
has been.
against
I think he was the best graded defender in that game.
He's really
He
good.
had a really good game.
Yeah.
And he stepped up since Chris Jones has been dealing with whatever illness he's dealing with. And we all know Chris Jones wasn't 100% that game.
Yeah, he was in and out a lot.
He was using the mask, the same one you use in high altitude, and Houston is pretty much sea level.
He was
struggling, and he wasn't out there because we saw a lot of I believe it was Williams. So we saw a lot
Brandon
of him.
Williams, yeah.
Yep, we saw a lot of him. So.
Who played well too, by the way. He
Yes,
actually had a really good game.
He had the one stop.
Yep.
When the quarterback.
I'm excited about him seeing if he can kind of grow from that.
Yeah, but
This is the risk you take.
yeah.
This is the risk you take when you spend your offseason not improving your edge rush.
Yes.
Like, yes, you got Karlaftis in the draft, but here's the problem: when you take a guy that is a tail end first round pick,
It's a project.
You can't expect him to come in here and become TJ Watt.
Well, not only that, but the
And he's a
combination
TJ Watt's
of all the youth and inexperience in the secondary.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. This is why I said from the beginning there's going to be a lot of growing pains for this defense. It's not going to be as good as the last couple of years it was just because of the inexperience in the secondary. But I just need to see more dog out of this secondary and this defensive line and go after the ball. You know what I mean? Like and make open field tackles. That's where I don't want to skip over this as we move on from this game here in a minute. I do not want to not talk about this game and not give Willie Gay his props.
Absolutely.
Had maybe the best player of his career so far.
And back-to-back
That tip
weeks with a
ball
turnover,
to himself
with
and
a
a
takeaway.
defensive touchdown.
Yeah.
And he finished the play in the end zone. That is if we didn't get that play, You know what I mean? This game might have been a little. We might have been having a tough time right now.
Against the Broncos and Texans if it wasn't for
This is
Willie
what
Gay.
I'm saying. So if
agree.
Willie Gay didn't make that play,
100%
that might have
agree.
been the biggest player. As great as Pat was, that might have been the most important player of the day.
That's a good point, yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't want to talk about this game and not give Willie Gay his props.
100%.
That was an incredible play, arguably the best play of his career.
100%.
He's a guy that's kind of been struggling as of late too. So getting a guy that already has juice every week. One of maybe our biggest hype guy outside of Chris Jones, Willie Gay. For him to get that much more juice heading into this next game, that's the play he needed. We needed as a team. So that was that to me was my favorite player of the game. It was just really good to see our defense get a play like that.
Yeah, this defense definitely needs to step it up here in the next weeks. You know, finish strong, go into the playoffs at your best. That's really what we need from this defense. We can't have what we've seen against the Texans. We can't have what we've seen against the Broncos.
Our safeties need to be better.
We have to finish games. We have to finish games. The games that we're supposed to finish, we have to finish. And I'm gonna talk about Bucker.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I didn't get your thoughts on that. I apologize.
No, you're fine. I know you said we have to move on from Bucker. I'm completely in the opposite end. I think a lot of his misses, and I'm gonna agree to some extent with what Dustin Colquitt said. You probably won't like it, but as soon as Dustin Colquitt left and Tommy Townsend became the holder, we start seeing a more consistent misses from Harrison Butker, and we can't disagree on that. So I think there is some validity to what Dustin Colquitt said. Now, maybe the words were probably like the best. Maybe he came out as arrogant to some people or something like that. You know, just kind of being like a dick or douche. But I do believe that there's something there that's obviously helped Harrison Butker miss more since Tommy Townsend took over.
There's some correlation.
Yeah, correlation. Now, I'm not going to take full blame away from Harrison Butker because there is blame on Harrison Butker missing those field goals. But this season only, I'm going to say a lot of those is him dealing with the high ankle sprain and him having to adjust to a different kickstand, having to support his support leg a little bit different, adjusting to a different type of kick. So it takes time, and his mechanics were already set to one way, and that's the way he kicked. And now he had to adjust because of the ankle to a different kind of mechanic. Sure. So that kind of obviously prevents you from making every single field goal. And I get these are kickers that are in the NFL and they're supposed to make the easy kicks. It happens. And like I was telling Lance, I was like, because he was like, we got to cut Butker. I was like, or let him
move on
go.
after the season.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I was like, well, should the Ravens move up from Justin Tucker because he's only one behind? You know what I mean? So, and then,
there's context to it. We can talk about it.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you see what I mean? So, no, I don't think we should move on from Harrison Butker. Now, if next season he's to get worse and start missing even more,
have a backup plan, maybe.
Yeah, have a plan B. But obviously, let's give it time, and then we'll see where that goes.
Here's what I want to directly respond to that is, and then we'll move on to the Eddie Hour. Well, first of all, my question to anybody that just addresses this with we need to give it time. My question is, how much more time do you need to give him? What needs to happen in order for more people to get on board with this to take place? Because we can't say with any certainty as it's currently going, even if it is an injury, that we can trust Harrison Butker in a big pinch right now. I know Trevor talked about it a lot and he extensively addressed that in the past we've been able to do that. Just like I said at the top of the show, that the one saving grace with Butker as to why I continue to give him confidence was, damn, he misses these frustrating PATs at a glaringly scary level. But in 13 seconds, Patrick Mahomes drives the Chiefs down against the Bills and he sinks. It was a 54-yard field goal.
Yep.
In the dead of the cold, nailed it. Those are the things that saved him and why I was always willing to overlook those things. But when you're still missing those PATs, and then you're missing big kicks like that against the Bengals that gets the game tied, when we need you to get that done, It doesn't matter what the reasoning is. I can't put my faith in him. And when you can replace kickers at a very adequate level, I understand Amendola and Wright were not the guys, but that doesn't mean that you hold this in fear of, well, we can't move off of him because those guys were bad. Because that's what the Chiefs did with the quarterback position for 3.5 decades, and they didn't win shit in the meantime. You can't base your team and build your team off of fear. You have to say, we got this dude off a team's practice squad and became most accurate kickers in the league. But what is he doing for me now? If he's not the same guy we had 4 years ago in 2018 when he was nails, we got to move off of him because he's also expensive. So if you don't want to spend that money on a guy you can't rely on, you got to move off of him, even if he is a good kicker, which Butker clearly is. But is he a guy you can rely on right now as a team? Your aspirations are to do what? Win Super Bowls. If this is a rebuilding team, if this is a team that's a couple pieces away, I'm good with leaving him there. But if, like Trevor said, you can't lose games to things you got to shore up. One thing the Chiefs have been struggling with all season is what? Turnovers and special teams blunders. Harrison Butker's played his part in that. So I have to be able to know that I can rely on him before I'm willing to say, you know what? For the next foreseeable future, I'm willing to ride with him because I'm not right now. He has to change the narrative, and it's on him to do so. The reason I have a problem with Colquitt's comments is because one big specific reason. Colquitt is the guy that got replaced by who? Tommy Townsend. And Dustin Colquitt was here for almost 19 seasons. And it's very confusing to me that Colquitt, a guy...
All time,
exactly. That's the reason, is that Quitt felt that he got ripped off from an opportunity to extend his career in Kansas City. Exactly. So you can't tell me that the guy that never had one controversial statement in his entire career decides to call out the one guy that actually replaced him in Kansas City. And if you look at those pictures that he utilized to make his point, it was actually Butker's footing that looked wrong. Yes, but Tommy Townsend's the laces were on the right side. You know how often that happens each and every game? It happens all the time because that ball's spinning at you 300 miles an hour. You got to hurry up and put that on there.
Job,
that is something that is not easy for anybody to do. It's still the kicker's goal, a job to make the kick. You can't sit here and say, oh, he missed that field goal because of Tommy Townsend when you see the footing placements are completely different and the context of the kicks were different.
But you have to put some blame in the holder as well. It's not just 100% the kicker. We can go back to the whole Tony Romo situation where he was the holder for the one kick in an important game, and he muffed the kick. You know what I mean? Like,
Eddie, where was Dustin Colquitt when Matt Amendola
but I'm saying
against the Colts?
But then
where was he?
But then your comment about how Harrison Butker since 2018 became worse. When did Tommy Townsend come into town?
2020.
2020. Butker wasn't terrible with Dustin Colquitt.
No, but I explained to the stats that even in Colquitt's time, he was consistently missing extra points, which is what I've been attacking. Guys, you got to.
He hasn't missed as many as now.
Guys, he missed 15 extra point field goals in the Colquitt era. You do realize that. That's what I'm saying. Like, that comes down to the place kicker, too, or the ball holder, right?
The numbers are kind of skewed towards him to have more chances to miss extra points because no one has scored more points and has been in the red zone nearly as much as the Chiefs have over that span.
But Eddie even brought up the whole stat about how he has the same amount of extra points missed or field goals missed as Justin Tucker. Justin Tucker has an exponentially more amount of field goal attempts as well. And Justin Tucker had a couple of them blocked. Yeah. A couple of those have been blocked by Justin Tucker, so that's not even on Justin Tucker or the placeholder.
That's on the defense Justin
making
Tucker
a great
is the greatest
play.
kicker of all time.
Exactly. So you can't even compare.
Yeah, I'm not going to compare.
The Harrison Butker's right behind him in accuracy.
100%. Yes.
According to stats.
Do you guys remember the kicker a few years ago for the Cowboys that had the highest field goal percentage of all time? I forget his name. It was Dan something. Number 6. He had the highest field goal percentage of all time. When Romo was still the kicker. He was the highest kicker. He missed like 3 of the next 4. Cowboys cut him. You never heard from him again because guys get yips. Guys get in their own heads a lot of times.
The most replaceable players on an NFL roster are special team players. Kickers, punters.
That's why they moved off of Colquitt because he was getting expensive. Even though he's still really good.
But when you're a team that depends on scoring as much as we do right now, it is a vital thing. And I want to give you a hypothetical. Say we continue with Butker, and he kind of is who he is. He misses week 8 extra points, week 15 extra point here and there, maybe a field goal here and there throughout the year. But he's never let us down in the postseason, which he hasn't yet. He's always hit the big field goals in the postseason, always when we need him in the clutch moments in the Buffalo game. Like he just
did he miss one against the Bengals?
In the playoff game?
In the AFC Championship. I'm pretty sure he missed one against the Bengals. I can look that up, but I'm pretty sure that happened. I can look that up. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I didn't go. Keep going.
I think we all know why we lost that game. Patrick Mahomes couldn't connect with anybody. But
sure, I know. It was a 3-point game. It was a 3-point game, though.
I'm not going to put any of that on Butker in that game. But he's yet to really where the game comes down to when we need him in the postseason. He's always showed up in the big moments where we actually absolutely need him. So would you stick with that guy that in the postseason has been nails for you in the postseason when you know he's going to miss a week 5, week 8?
You're right. He was 4 for 4 in that game.
That's what I say. He has yet to let us down in the postseason.
Yeah, won't kill him on that.
There's yet to be a moment where we're like, fuck, Butker just absolutely blew it.
He did miss one against the Bills, though. He did.
Yeah, but I mean, he hit the one. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so to answer your question, if I wanted to have a guy like that I know is going to be nails in the postseason, automatically I'm going to say yes. The only issue is that we know now the significance of the 1 seed.
Yeah.
And how the Chiefs have been able to bank on having that 2 of the 4 times.
It's a double-edged sword because you want to win as many games as possible.
You want to have a guy, and then obviously we're talking perfect world scenarios here. What I'm looking for is a guy that, look, this sounds nuts, but hear me out on this.
You want to get nuts?
I would rather have a guy that misses 50-yard field goals than a guy that misses extra points.
Yeah, of course.
Because you're going to get far more extra point attempts than field goal attempts in this offense because they score a ton of touchdowns. Yeah. So you got to hit the sure things. Yeah. Hit the free throws. I can live with a guy. If we're going to miss extra
points, let's just go for 2 every time.
I'm saying I would rather have a guy that hits 95% of his free throw attempts than a guy that hits 50% of his three-pointers. I want you to hit the free throws. Hit the sure things. Get me those points because you're going to get far more of those attempts.
Well, you remember when the Steelers were struggling with extra points and they just started going for 2 every time?
Exactly.
It's like, well, we might as well just do that if we're going to miss extra points.
And you can't tell me that in the playoffs, in a tight game, we're not all sitting here going, oh, fuck. Butker, please hit these extra points. For the love of God, please hit these extra points.
But he's yet to blow it in the postseason. That's what I'm saying.
I've yet to feel that way about Butker. I mean...
I'm going off the numbers here. I'm not making this up.
I felt it this past game. Now I'm not gonna lie. I was like, shit.
Exactly.
He already missed an extra point.
They needed him to come up big. Luckily, Patrick came up big in overtime. He did. Got the 2-point conversion, all that shit.
Touchdown. Yeah.
Got the touchdown. Or I'm sorry, the touchdown to Jerick McKinnon, rushing touchdown. But he drove them down. Is my point. He gave Butker an opportunity in the fourth quarter.
They turned over the ball. They didn't drive down. They punt the ball.
Look, it could be much worse here in Kansas City. It could be much worse. My point though is when it comes to guys like Colquitt, the legendary player that he is. Mm-hmm. He didn't talk one fucking time when the Colts game happened and the Chiefs had multiple opportunities to make field goals and missed PATs and field goals. Didn't call those guys out or say Tommy Townsend wasn't holding the ball correctly. Yeah. Didn't talk about that. Now all of a sudden he wants to start talking about Tommy Townsend, who literally took the high road and showed a 41-year-old man how to take the high road in his tweets about, hey, coach told me don't worry about anybody outside of this locker room. I mean, that puts heaping coals on Dustin Colquitt because it makes him only look bad. Like, his comments, my question is this. What does Dustin Colquitt's comments, who do they help? It's only a distraction. It helps no one.
Possibly. It depends on the player. Some players can take that as fuel and become better.
But Butker even had to say in his own comments that I worry about myself, not my place character. My guy is fine.
I'm the kind of guy that...
That's kind of like Patrick saying, it's like, yeah, it's my fault. I mean...
My point, though, is that Dustin Colquitt didn't help Butker because Butker had to answer those questions and give that type of response. Who does that help?
Yeah, that's his negative energy.
It's his negative energy. Thank you. What were you saying? I'm sorry, Trevor.
No, I'm saying I'm the kind of guy that tries to... when situations like this come about and there's a blame game going on, I tend to put truth in a little bit of everything. I think everyone's stance. Colquitt probably has some truth to what he's saying. I'm sure there has been some film he's probably watched where Townsend maybe was a little off. There's probably some truth to that. There's some truth to Buck having the yips. There's some truth to that. There's a little bit of truth to I think all that going around. But pointing the fingers and doing the whole Spider-Man meme shit isn't going to do anything. We all got to come together, figure it out. If someone needs to take some blame, take a little bit of that blame. You take a little bit of that blame. Defense takes a little bit of this blame. Patrick Mahomes had a 3 interception game. Take some of that blame. That's what good teams do. That's what good coach teams do, and I believe that's what Andy Reid always does. You know what I mean? So
and take responsibility. And we've seen the current Chiefs players are really great at that. We saw it in the victory where Patrick Mahomes was like, "Yeah, rough."
Yeah,
that's
the defense
bad game.
The defense saved,
defense saved us.
It's true. I mean,
I love how how this team takes responsibility for their actions. I love that, and I think that helps motivate the team. And I'm sure the guys help motivate Harrison Butker. We see it after when he misses a kick. It's like, hey, man, they could kind of go pat him. Patrick Mahomes even goes up to him, kind of like pats him in the back. It's like, let's go. Yeah. On to the next. So I like that. I like how this team picks himself up, take responsibility, and yeah.
Yep, that's where we're at right now. Let us know what you guys think in the comments on our YouTube channel. Let us know if you're not
most we've ever talked about a kicker in one season.
yeah, and it's valid because these we know
Jesus.
that if and when they face the Bills or Bengals in the playoffs, it's gonna be tight games, and special team situational moments are gonna have to be good for the Chiefs this time around.
I'm gonna go with another hypothetical before we
move
on.
Go ahead.
So if Harrison Butker doesn't miss another kick or a crucial kick from now on until the end of the season, are you still replacing him?
No. This is what I'm talking about. It's all current day events that I'm addressing. When I look at the way Butker's kicking right now, I have legitimate concerns. You know what's going to take that away? Him kicking good. If he starts nailing his extra points and because remember, guys, the previous weeks, what have I been doing? For the previous weeks, I've been giving him nothing but credit for what he's been doing about nailing his PATs. Because there was a streak, he had 10 straight extra points. I'm going to sit here and go, that's what I'm talking about. Bro, that's what I need. But when you are a replaceable player at a replaceable position, making a lot of money, and you're not doing your job at the best, and you're failing the team and putting them in a dire situation, I got to move off of you. So right now as it stands, I want the Chiefs to look into it this offseason because obviously Amendola and Wright were like the quick replacements. In this offseason, you can find a guy in the draft. You can find the guy in the draft for an undrafted player and say, hey, look, we got 12, 13 picks. Maybe we take a guy in the 6th, 7th rounds, a good kicker out of college, soccer player, something like that. Do some research on a guy. If Butker still struggles like this in the postseason, maybe even, hopefully not, costs the Chiefs.
Well, like you said, he is making some money for your
$3 million cap hit next year for a kicker.
Yeah.
Like, you better be a Hall of Fame level dude if you're doing that. So if he's missing like this, and then going into next season with a $3 million cap hit with this team moving forward, hell no, move off, dude. Get a cheaper guy that you can say is going to make his extra points at least. That's all I'm asking. Like, if you miss a 55-yard field goal in 20-degree weather, I'm not going to kill you.
Like, all I'm going to say is if we know this, he knows it. He knows he got to get his shit together. And I think we've seen the great moments from Mayor Harrison Butker, and I think he knows he needs to get it together. And if we know it, he knows it. I expect him to fix
He's the best kicker. I know Nick Lowry has all the numbers.
Yeah.
He's the best kicker in Chiefs history, Harrison Butker is.
For sure. He's going to be a Hall of Famer if he keeps going.
And so I give him credit. Yeah. But again, when you're at that position and you can move off a guy like that very quickly, I'm in a business of what have you done for me lately? To answer your question, Eddie, he goes nails and goes like 17 for his next 17 and like 11 for his next 11 extra points. Keep his ass. Yeah. I'll pay the $3 million because he's reliable.
Yeah, if we're willing to walk away from Tyreek Hill, kickers are replaceable,
Thank you. That's what I'm saying. So, yeah, that's to answer your question. Again, if you have not already subscribed to our YouTube channel, hit us up there. We would greatly appreciate it. Hit the notification button as well so you guys can get updated every time we go live on our YouTube channel. And let us know what your guys' thoughts are on the current status of the entire team, whether it's the defense and they can't stop teams in the red zone, whether it's the Chiefs' offense coming out looking really slow and methodical each and every damn week. Patrick Mahomes' MVP odds. I'm sure we can talk about that later. We have not yet, but I'm sure we'll talk about it. Whether it's special teams, do you have confidence in Harrison Butker? Is he the guy for the future moving forward? Is he your kicker? Do you guys have belief in him? Coaching staff, all the questions you guys have, hit us up on our comments. Let us know what you guys think. We'd love to hear from you. In the meantime, we're going to get to the Eddie Hour. This is one of my favorite segments of the week. Eddie, the floor is yours. What is in the Eddie Hour this week, my man?
All right, let me pull it up. Let me put it up. Has Zach Wilson played his last NFL season?
No. He's not played his last NFL season, but he has played his last NFL season with the Jets. Last night's game was the nail in the coffin. The Jets had everything to still play for against a team that also had everything to play for, both in the AFC, both fighting for a playoff spot. And he went out there and had his worst game in the last month. And that's saying something, seeing how bad he is already. Completed, I think, 41% of his passes, threw less than 90 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. Absolutely abysmal. And see, here's the thing. I know everybody talks about the weather. And the weather was a factor for the first half or so. Trevor Lawrence had an incredible game. Trevor Lawrence came from the same draft class as Zach Wilson. And guess who Zach Wilson looked bad against? Trevor Lawrence. That makes it look even worse. And here's the thing also. The Jets have a young, talented nucleus of receiving options. And a good running back, even though they lost Breece Hall. Good offensive line. And he was terrible despite all those factors. It was his job to win back. He got benched for a few weeks. Mike White goes down with an injury. Joe Flacco was an old backup. And they had Sleverson, I think his name is.
Something like that.
Guy, some bow-legged Tebow out there who finally comes into the game in the fourth quarter, and the offense finally has juice. Streveler, thank you. Chris Streveler, that's his name.
Yeah.
Bow-legged Tebow out there, 15 yards out there waddling for first downs. Out there running sideways practically.
Running with skis
out for first down. Yeah, exactly. You said last night, running with skis on, and the offense had juice.
Yeah.
This is all bad for Zach Wilson. You can see it in Robert Saleh's face.
Yeah.
He wants to move off Zach Wilson as soon as he possibly can. Zach Wilson will be a backup somewhere in this league because he is young and he is talented. Those are two things that will always get you a job in this league. Always get you a job as long as you're willing to participate. But he will not be a Jet next season. There's no way in hell. And in fact, I'll raise it because I don't want to distract from Trevor's take that he's about to have, but I'll raise it. I think if there is a single team in this league that Tom Brady should go to is the Jets or the Titans. And I now think the Jets have taken that top spot. Biggest reason why. That defense is one of the 5 best in the league, and it's only getting better because they're all young and guys are going to improve, and they're all young and inexpensive right now. Bunch of rookies on that defense, bunch of inexpensive players. Robert Saleh is going to run the defense. Tom Brady's greatest success in his career was with a defensive-minded head coach. It's also in the AFC East, which gives Tom Brady all the incentive in the world to do what? Stick it to Bill Belichick twice in a season, which is what he wanted with Miami because that team was loaded and ready to go as well. Granted, it's in a warmer climate, which is probably what Tom wants, but he's had a lot of success in the cold upper Northeast, and that is a team primed and ready to go with a ton of talent on offense. And remember, he went to the Buccaneers for that very same reason. Young, talented receivers, young, talented running backs, really good offensive line, really good defense, young, talented defense with a capable head coach. That sounds like the New York Jets to me. Yeah. That's why he went to the Bucs. That sounds like the perfect team, Tom Brady. So if the Jets want him, I think the Jets could get him. I think that's a team that he should go to. I'm sorry to distract.
I don't know. I can't. It'd be hard for me to see the Saleh Brady marriage, if I'm being honest, with a younger, inexperienced coach. But that would make sense. But I mean, that is a tough division, though. So Tom Brady going to a division that's going to be
Jets split with the Bills this year with Zach Wilson as their quarterback.
Sure.
But the Bills have a lot of problems this offseason.
Miami is possibly on the rise as well. I'm not a Tua guy, so I don't believe in Tua. But I think they are legitimate. I mean, a lot of people.
Brady could end up in Miami still.
I think that's a better spot.
That still could happen. Yeah,
that's still a better spot.
I agree.
Yeah, but those weapons, my God, and that's a defense that can be fixed. They're bad right now, but yeah. I don't think Zach Wilson's done, man. I think, listen, this is not even his worst game of the year, and they still went back to him. And Saleh's post-game press conference, he's like, yeah, I see Zach's getting better. He keeps talking. I know that could be coach speak, but they've done nothing but show that they continue to go back to him. I think he starts next week. Ugh. I do. I do not think he's done. I think they're going to finish out the year with him.
But he got benched again.
For sure. But that's not the first time.
I know, but that's
he's been benched before.
I feel like that's the final time.
This wasn't even his worst game of the year.
I'm just saying.
Remember him against what was it? Even the Patriots game? My God.
Right. But I'm saying getting benched again in your home stadium and that crowd's booing the hell out of him. I can't. How do you sell the fans bringing him back?
I know.
I don't.
I think he finishes this year, but I don't think he's their guy next year. I think they got something to Mike White at least to hold them over until they find something in the draft or whatever, or Tom Brady or another guy. Who knows? But I think he finishes out this year, man. I think they finish out the year with him. I like his talent. He has talent, but he's just a terrible decision maker. He lacks the arm strength to get the ball downfield where the ball needs to go. He's got some like Jay Cutler in him a little bit. He's got that gunslinger. He throws a good ball. But he doesn't have the best deep ball, and his decision making is so awful, and his pocket presence is trash. He's not going to be the guy. But I think this season, I think they do because they've shown me nothing but that. Saleh's done nothing but go back to him.
Right.
But I think when Mike White is back and healthy, then we can have a discussion. I think Mike White is obviously the better guy for that offense, and some. The players tend to rally around him a lot better. And when you see, as a coach, especially if we're as fans, just bystanders watching this game and seeing how the team just plays different with Mike White and Streveler, their fourth-string quarterback going in there and giving that team juice, that's a problem. That's a massive problem. And we saw Joe Flacco playing fine early in the year when Zach Wilson was out. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, they weren't winning a lot of games, but they were winning here and there, and his numbers were actually really good. And Garrett Wilson is an absolute stud on the rise, I believe, in this league. They might have something in that Zonovan, that running back Bam. I forget his last name. Anyways, that kid looks good too. So they have some weapons on that offense. If they could build an offense up and get a legitimate quarterback that can make plays, that defense is primed and ready to make some significant, stances in this league of being arguably the best defense moving forward. That's a scary unit. I think he finishes this year unless he gets hurt or unless they just decide to go with Mike White, which I think is a possibility there as well. But they continue to go back with him, man, when he's had shittier games than even this one, believe it or not. So this is not the first time he's been benched, and they've still gone back. So I believe they finish. And I said that they don't make the playoffs this year, so I feel confident in that. I don't
That's
think
100% not going to happen
Yeah.
now.
I think they're already eliminated from the playoffs.
Well, it's like a 5% chance now.
Yeah.
It's a lot would have to go right. Like the Bills would have to lose out, Dolphins would have to lose out. Like a lot would have to go right.
Remember we had this discussion like 6-7 weeks ago, and I said I think they finished last in this division.
The Patriots still have a really bad gauntlet still to go.
True.
So
Yeah, they got to play the Bengals, I think, this week.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be a tough one. But
Bills, Dolphins, the Dolphins one more time.
I think they could beat the Bengals as well. But yeah, Zach Wilson's trash, man. I like eye test wise. I like what I see, like his abilities, but he is a terrible pocket passer. His presence is horrible. He does not know when to evade pressure, and his decision making is god awful. So he's not going to succeed in this league, man. I don't know if he's going to be if he becomes a backup. I don't know if it's going to be that long, to be honest with you.
I don't think he even has that leadership.
Give me
to
Trevor
be a
Siemian.
backup.
You know what I mean? Like this is bad.
I don't think he's built for the NFL. In my opinion, I don't think Zach Wilson is a player or a quarterback I could see in the league, even as a backup.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe as a practice squad player, I can.
Well, and he's shown with his arrogance. You know what I mean? Maybe he won't even stick around for that. Because this kid comes from money. He's a silver spoon kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He just had a motherfucker of a game, you know what I'm saying? So, I don't know if his pride would even allow him. He's not even able to take accountability when he plays like shit, and he doesn't even take that accountability. So him becoming a backup might be an issue for him. So he can go be.
Jackson has been ruled out this weekend, obviously, and contract talks have or people speculating on the contract and people speculating on what's going to happen next season. Shannon Sharp said if I'm Lamar Jackson, I would just sit out the rest of the season. I forget what kind of injury Lamar Jackson has.
A PCL injury.
Yeah, so a lot of people are kind of like, if I'm Lamar Jackson, I would just. How does this hurt Lamar Jackson's chances to stay with the Ravens? What do you see happening? What do you think will happen?
Yeah, so I said from the beginning of the year that if I'm the Ravens, I trade Lamar Jackson. I think that because of the fact that you're getting the best of Lamar right now, he's not a player based on his style and his build that's going to play 15, 16 years in this league. That's just not Lamar Jackson. He can throw the ball. I'm not one of those people that believes Lamar can't chuck the ball. The dude can throw. But his greatest asset is his athleticism, his ability to run. We all know this.
Well, who's he throwing the ball to? They have yet to give him like legitimate receivers.
Outside of Mark Andrews, there's nobody that's really even consistent.
It's not really fair.
So I will defend him in that regard. He's made chickens out of chicken shit a lot of times in the passing game.
For sure.
Having said that, though, we're seeing him now the last couple of seasons miss 2, 3, 4 games at a time due to injuries because his body is not going to be able to hold that down. Like Josh Allen gets away with it because Josh Allen's 6'6", 250 pounds.
Monster, yeah.
Like Cam Newton, he did that for 9, 10 seasons, but even he started to break down because he was big and strong, took a lot of hits. You're seeing Russell Wilson, smaller guy, took a lot of hits. His body's breaking
Justin
down.
Fields already. You know what I mean?
It's going to happen to Lamar. Yeah. So if I was the Ravens, if he didn't take that initial offer, I would have said, look, we're confident in John Harbaugh to weather the storm. We're going to trade Lamar Jackson, as crazy as that sounds, as much as that would piss off fans. We're going to trade him for multiple firsts, go take him to the Giants or a team like that, and go make this happen. Now that he bet on himself, which I'll never, ever kill a player for betting on themselves because you want to go out there and make your money, that's great. But now Lamar's only lost money. Because he had, according to reports, over $250 million offered him. He wanted it fully guaranteed. Ravens said no, which I totally get. Based upon, look at Kyler Murray. Just got the contract, plays the same style as Lamar, and just had a torn ACL. And he's younger by like 2 years under Lamar Jackson. So it's worrisome for Lamar now moving forward because I think there's a little bit of a hostility between him and the Ravens. I do think they love him, but I don't think they're in love with him. I think they, like they said, they see the writing on the wall with his physical attributes, and once he hits 30, there's no guarantees he'll ever be close to the player he once was. I think he lost tens of millions of dollars, so if he didn't take the offer last offseason, Why in the hell would he take the offer this next offseason? I think this relationship get very frayed, and I could see him being the Giants starting quarterback. I could see him be the Dolphins starting quarterback. There are a lot of teams out there that I think would take the gamble and spend a lot of money on Lamar Jackson for relevance and for just an absolute upgrade, because as much as Tua's been a good quarterback this year, Lamar would be an automatic significant upgrade for Miami.
Frightening.
So I think that there's a much better chance right now that Lamar is elsewhere making big money than he is in Baltimore next year making big money, because I think Baltimore has shown us that they want to keep him, but they ain't give him everything he wants. It feels very much like the Tyreek Hill Chiefs thing, where they love him, they want him here, but they're not going to go the levels he's asking for, which is continually moving the goalpost.
Yeah.
I think he could be elsewhere.
Talk about Zach Wilson being done where he's at. I think this is the guy I think is done where he's at. I do. I think Lamar's gone after this season. I don't think they're going to pay him after. And I feel bad for Ravens fans, because I mean I know so many massive fan. I mean, how can you not become a fanboy for Lamar? I mean, he's it's been a while since they've had like that kind of quarterback in Baltimore, right? They've always banked on their defense and just vanilla quarterback play. So having that electric kind of quarterback on your team finally is a fun thing to have. But I don't think it's going to work out here. I think a big market is calling his name. I think in New York or a Miami, Florida kind of team, Miami would be great, I think, for Lamar. That would be a really fun thing, and to mix up the AFC a little bit. That would be
draft
scary.
picks to trade too.
When he's so good at escaping and continuing to play, when you got Waddle and Tyreek out there breaking free, that's a scary offense there with McDaniel at the helm too. Calling the shots there. So I think there's going to be a change for Lamar. I think him banking on himself and then getting hurt and knowing that he's not going to get that contract he wanted. That's just the reality of the situation now. So I think winning becomes a massive priority here too. And I think he could stay in Baltimore and win. He's done it already. They've been a good team. They failed in the postseason consistently. Just because there's just too many good teams in the AFC. So going to a team that's a little more stacked to win right now might be a better opportunity for him. And he's never had, like I alluded to, he's never had elite weapons to throw the ball to outside of a good tight end. So having a guy, going to a team like Miami or something like that would be ideal for him. New York, that's something you can actually really build on for like more the long term. And he has a good up and coming coach over there in Dayball, which it would be a great spot for him as well, especially for marketability.
Look at it with Josh Allen, the mobility of Josh Allen getting Lamar Jackson now.
Sure. And if they find a way to keep Saquon there, which I don't know if they're going to do that.
If they keep Lamar, I think Saquon would stay.
Yeah, and they need to get receivers. I mean, they paid Kenny Galladay and guys like this have not
Sterling
just fallen
Shepard's coming off an ACL.
Yeah, second one. Yeah, I mean, I'm a Lamar fan. I really am. I like him a lot. I like him as a person. I think he's a funny, cool, if he was my quarterback, I would root for him a lot for sure. I love him to have. If I was a fan of the Ravens, I'd love him to death. But if I'm from the outside looking in as a Chiefs fan, as a football fan, I want the best for him. And I think, it might be best for both sides for him just to go somewhere else and then to kind of, find, because Harbaugh is a coach that's going to find somebody and thrive regardless. I think he's just such a smart coach. Coming from the special teams side, you have to do a little bit of everything. He's always been a great coach. So I think they would both find success on both, if there was a part in ways here, either way. So I think Lamar's done in Baltimore. I'm calling it now. I think that's where I'm at. If he finds a way to stick around, cool. I'm sure the Ravens fans would be ecstatic to keep him there because I truly believe he is a franchise guy. But I think we see him in a different color jersey this next season, man. I do.
You think John Harbaugh was stick for that kind of
absolutely
rebuild?
Yeah, because John Harbaugh, he just turned 60 years old, so he's not young, but he's not old.
I wouldn't even say it's a rebuild, though.
And honestly, yeah, like I said, I mean, you're seeing the Ravens stay competitive without Lamar both these last two seasons. Like they had
Tyler
so many
Huntley's
players.
good.
Yeah, they had so many players on the IR last year, and they had 9 wins. Like I know they had a lot of those with Lamar. My point though is
look at the quarterback play over the years with
contention.
Flacco, vanilla quarterbacks, nothing special.
And I think the biggest reason to Trevor's point and why I still feel the same way as well is because of the fact that the Ravens aren't a team that have been notorious for going out and just spending tons of on players, especially even at the quarterback position. They did pay Flacco. They did anticipate to pay Lamar, but again, the language and how this has all gone out, I think it shows, especially with Lamar not having an agent to represent himself, not having that representation to meet the Ravens halfway. I think that they're getting kind of tired of having to deal with this. And when they see that, let's put it like this: if Lamar had a baller season like I was expecting him to have, I said either it's going to be him or Patrick Mahomes that wins the MVP. Remember we said that on my prediction.
Well, earlier he was,
and he was showing that.
Yeah.
If he had that season where he had 3,900 passing yards, 1,100 rushing yards, and 34 total touchdowns. They're paying him.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you know what? You're 25, 26 years old.
here's
Okay,
300.
you know what? You bet on yourself. Damn it, we're just going to give you the money because we can't sell our fan base on letting you go after that season.
No,
like,
they have
there's
the
no
most.
way.
They have the most blown double-digit leads in the league this year.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when the season went this way, then you tack on the injury that's going to keep him out for 3+ games. The Ravens are going to look at him and go, okay, bro, we're going to have to talk to you directly because you don't have representation. You don't have an agent. So we're just going to give you the brass tacks here because none of that lawyer talk's happening right now. You did not have your best season. And you're asking for money that is bigger than Deshaun Watson's, who nobody should have given him that money. We can't give you. I'm sorry, Browns. Yeah, the Browns gave Deshaun Watson that money. No one in the league would have given him that money outside of the Browns, who were a desperate franchise. There's a reason for that. We're not the Browns. We're a proud franchise, and we can win without you. We want you, but if you're asking for $230+ million guaranteed after what you just did this season, which
Take Flacco again.
we'll find
Don't be surprised
our
if he comes
guy,
back. That could
and
happen.
we'll ship you off. We'll trade you to a place that you feel is suitable. We'll give you that because we love you and respect you. But we're not going to pay you this money out of desperation because we're not a desperate franchise.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, it's a quarterback talk this week. We went from a quarterback to a quarterback, and we're gonna go into another quarterback, Mr. Irrelevant. I want to get your thoughts on what you've seen so far with him in the 49ers. Could him potentially leading the 49ers to a deep playoff push? Can that have some kind of conflict in the coach's head as to who's starting next season? Is it between him and Trey Lance? What are your thoughts?
Oh, yes. 100%. I'm not somebody that wants to buy in completely on Brock Purdy yet because I do think that this guy, as it currently stands, is just a good backup, solid guy. He had a really good college career at Iowa or Iowa State. Iowa State. Yeah, had a good career. So this guy knows how to play football. He played a pro-style offense in college, so he walked right into this with actually more experience than Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo, quite frankly, when it came to knowing this type of offense.
3-year starter, wasn't he?
Yeah, 4-year starter.
4 years.
4-year starter.
Yeah.
So Brock Purdy was prepared for this type of moment. This moment's not too big for him. And he fits the offense because he does literally what Kyle Shanahan wants him to do. That's why Jimmy Garoppolo has had so much success in San Francisco.
He's way more mobile than Jimmy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's just a guy, all right, I want you to throw the ball here. I want you to do this. And they do just that. That's why Jimmy Garoppolo has had success. That's why Brock Purdy's having success. The difference is, does he have the sustainability to do it for a long period of time? I don't know that yet because we haven't seen enough yet to know. So, but I will say this. If he maintains my prediction and they go to the Super Bowl, win or lose, Brock Purdy can win this job next year. It is not crazy. You know why? Because we've seen it throughout the history of the league. Guys that are undrafted win jobs and have Hall of Fame careers. Tony Romo was an undrafted player and played 13 years in this league and was one of the best quarterbacks in the league in his time.
Yep.
Call him whatever you want to call him. This dude put up numbers, had comeback victories, took the Cowboys to the playoffs.
Played through injuries,
won
massive
playoff games.
injuries.
Exactly. Like these guys, we see these guys all the time in this league, and they'll have 10, 13, 14, 15-year careers. Brock Purdy could be that guy. Am I banking on it? No. But I'm saying right now, he's put himself in a position, and he's in the perfect position to make that dream possible. And I think this kid has a legitimate chance. I don't see any fear in him. I don't see inaccuracy. In fact, he's super accurate. And like Trevor said, he's a much more mobile quarterback than Jimmy. The only reason Jimmy was even brought back is because of Trey Lance's concerns with his injury, and he ultimately got that, and then Jimmy got this time to play. Jimmy's days with the 49ers are over. 100% over. Because Brock Purdy's played better than Jimmy Garoppolo did as a much younger and experienced player. And so now with Trey Lance being there, a guy they gave up 3 first-round picks for, they don't want Tom Brady. They've already specified on this. Tom Brady will not go to the 49ers. I'll put that out there right now. So there's 2 options. Brock Purdy or Trey Lance. Who's going to win the job? I'm banking on Trey Lance because he's the far more superior talented athlete. I think Kyle Shanahan can elevate him, but Brock Purdy has done everything he needed to do to get Kyle Shanahan's confidence. And when it comes to a league like this where a team like the Niners have so much coaching control like Kyle Shanahan does, if you win his confidence, he'll go with you. I think Brock Purdy's got a good chance.
I think he's got a great chance here as well. I think I don't think in the NFL outside of Kansas City, for a young quarterback coming into this league with not many expectations, I think the best outside of the Kansas City situation, the best spot for a quarterback to land is San Fran. You got an elite, the best
Rams.
defense, arguably the best defense in football, maybe the best O-line in football, with the best left tackle of football, and you got Christian McCaffrey toting the rock, and you got Deebo Samuels and all these other
Brandon
weapons.
Ayuk,
Yeah, you
George
know what I mean?
Kittle.
So This is a great spot for him, man, and he's done nothing but flourish with it so far. He kind of reminds me of like a young. I'm not saying he's Russell Wilson, but he has that. He kind of has that. He's kind of not the biggest guy. He doesn't have the deep ball that Russell Wilson had. One of the best deep ball throws ever at the time when he was out there balling. But his mobility is like just good enough to where it's kind of like Russell Wilson-esque. Like he knows when to run. Has that escapability as well to extend plays, and can make really, really good like back shoulder end zone throws. That one he had a couple weeks ago was insane. So yeah, I love what I'm seeing from him.
Did you see the?
This is not a joke. Like this dude is for real.
Did you see the stat? Because Trevor brought up the whole deep ball thing. You're right, but Brock Purdy had more 20+ yard touchdown passes in one quarter against the Bucs than Jimmy Garoppolo had in 3 seasons.
This is what I'm saying. And that's,
not even kidding.
And that's
a real stat.
And that's why I don't like Jimmy G, because he just can't throw the football downfield. Like you need a quarterback that can do that.
Yes.
And he also, on top of that, can extend plays.
Right.
Because he has no mobility.
Right.
So I just can't stand Jimmy G. I think he's trash. But I think he's a perfect kind of quarterback. Granted, I still believe there is another level that can be unlocked to this offense with a Trey Lance.
Yes.
But I am suspect of Trey Lance's ability to make those intermediate throws. Got a great deep ball.
Now stay healthy.
But can he make those that too? But can he make the intermediate throws, the short, quick, accurate throws to the Debos, to the George Kittles, that Brock Purdy is currently making, and the deep, you know what I mean?
And here's the perfect scenario.
Dude, there's a chance he can take this job.
And here's
100%.
the perfect scenario. What's more likely going to happen, because we're way ahead of our skis right now, what more likely is going to happen is Trey Lance is going to win the job because he was that guy that they traded all that for, right?
I don't think so if they make the Super Bowl.
Here's the question. Here's the thing. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Let's say they justify it to their fans. Like, hey, I know we made the Super Bowl. We lost to the Chiefs, whatever the case is, right? Brock Purdy's going to start as our backup quarterback. Trey Lance goes down again. Then all of a sudden, Brock Purdy comes back in.
It's a win-win.
Win-win, exactly. Because then you could say, you know what? We've given Trey Lance 3 seasons now, or 2.5, and he's been injured in 2 of those seasons.
You can't trade him.
Brock Purdy's now our guy. Like, is that really the worst thing that can happen? Because now you're telling your fan base, we're going to go with the guy that just took us to the Super Bowl. Because that's literally what they just did with Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah.
That's literally what they just did.
He's making pennies, bro.
Yeah, Jimmy G was just riding the team. He was just riding with the team.
Exactly.
Because this is the best. Like I said, this is the best spot for a quarterback outside of Kansas City. The best spot to be in.
Yeah, just be a manager. Just be a manager. Like, just be Alex Smith.
Or if you're anything better than a manager, holy shit, we have a Super Bowl chance here.
Exactly.
You
If
know what I
Brock
mean?
Purdy actually ends up becoming something,
yeah.
This is the best team in football.
This is the kind of
This is the best team in football.
These are the kind of stories that make sports so fun and so special. These are the best kind of things. Even the Patrick Mahomes story, where he came from, us trading up to get him, and a lot of, you know what I mean, he was overlooked by a lot of other teams. These kind of things, and obviously him being the last pick in the draft, and now he has a chance to be on a Super Bowl caliber team. Him steering that ship and playing it really, really well.
Because what made Tom Brady's story so great?
Exactly.
166th pick overall.
Aaron Rodgers.
Nobody believed
drafted
in him.
late.
And now they have literally Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah. Yeah, man. This is what makes football so great. And I haven't seen anything on a Brock Purdy. It's like,
exactly.
Well, he's been damn near perfect.
It looked like he just hit the ground running.
And that's scary too, because you're just waiting for the shoe to fall. But at the same time, man, like, this system is primed for guys like that to come and thrive. And he's done nothing but
don't make mistakes.
He was a 4-year starter in college, knows this system, smart guy, on and off the field, smart guy, level-headed guy, not too emotional, but the team's rallying around him.
They will never ask him to be Patrick Mahomes.
I don't want to see the Niners.
They will never ask him to be Josh Allen. They'll never ask him to be Joe Burrow. Because he probably will never be those guys as an individual. And two, like Trevor just said, this is a scheme and a system where it's like, literally, bro, just hit the open man and move the chains.
Yeah.
Score points.
He's out here throwing guys open, though.
That's what I'm saying. Like if you do these things, and every once in a while go above and beyond, he's the starting quarterback for the 49ers. Like, straight up.
I like him a lot, man. If he takes the job from Trey Lance, I'm not going to be mad. And Trey Lance will probably go somewhere else and thrive as well.
You know, that's my guy.
He's a freak athlete, but
Ravens.
I got to stay consistent here. I have to stay consistent here.
Yeah.
What have you done for me lately? I can't sit here and criticize Butker and then not sit here and talk about the same thing with Trey Lance.
And you're telling me if the Niners go to the Super Bowl, win or lose, but he gets them to the Super Bowl, you don't think they're gonna you don't think someone's gonna be like, hey, I'll like the Ravens.
Yeah.
If they move on from Lamar, you don't think they'll say, hey, I'll throw you a 3rd-round pick for Trey Lance.
And give me your genuine thought on this. If you look at the NFC landscape right now, like, I know the Eagles are like everyone's just favorites to make it, but the Eagles got destroyed in the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
Now they have a banged up Jalen Hurts, If you look at the landscape right now,
I think the Niners are the best
Can
team in
you
the
say
NFC.
with any definitivity that there is a quarterback you have more faith in than Brock Purdy right now in the NFC? As crazy as that sounds,
Well,
Kirk Cousins.
If the Eagles meet with the Niners in the postseason, who are you picking? I'm
Exactly.
picking the Niners.
Tom Brady might not even make the
That's what I'm saying.
I'm picking the
playoffs.
fucking
Aaron
Saints.
Rodgers will not make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Tom Brady may not make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So you're looking at potentially Sam Darnold, Jalen Hurts,
The change of the
Dak
guard. It's the young
Prescott,
guys. Yeah.
Kirk Cousins, and Brock Purdy as like the premier cornerbacks.
Give me Brock.
Give me Brock
Yeah.
because of the system, the team, everything like that. Like
defense, yeah, man.
You can almost walk the Niners into the Super Bowl.
about
As
a
crazy as that
system
sounds,
quarterback,
yeah,
bro.
dude.
I love this story. I love this kid. I love that team. Yeah, it's an exciting time, man, for Niners fans to have that.
Oh my God.
And it's so annoying. You know what I mean? It's so annoying as a fan watching the Niners. Like, bro, it's like it's been a revolving door quarterback, and like vanilla quarterbacks too. Like, I can't stand Jimmy G, but he took him to the fucking Super Bowl. I can't stand.
He stayed out of the
Jimmy
way.
G.
He stayed out of the
You
way.
know, now they got a guy named Brock out there, we'll throw a last pick at the draft, and now he's out here just diming it up. It's like, God damn it.
Third string, we're gonna put him out there.
You know, if I was a fan of some shitty team, I'd be so upset. Like, you know, like a team that keeps trying to draft quarterbacks. If I'm a Jets fan or something, trying to find that guy, and then Brock fucking Purdy is coming out here, possibly going to the Super Bowl. It's like, it's
Brock
so
Purdy
annoying.
outplaying the number 2 pick overall, huh?
Right. That's crazy, bro.
I
Yeah.
do want to put this out here real quick. I don't mean to interrupt the Eddie hour, but 45 minutes ago I did tweet out because the Chiefs actually tweeted out they had activated Blake Bell from the injured reserve.
Nice.
He will be playing.
Jody
He'll be
Fortson's
active this
banged up.
week.
Yeah.
They have activated Danny Shelton.
Let's go.
Which I'm very excited about. You get Brandon Williams.
Monster.
Like Clay tweeted it out. He goes, Chiefs are ready to run and stop the run. I want to see Brandon Williams and Danny Shelton on the field at the same
That's why
time.
they're
Jumbo
right
front with Dunlap, Shelton, and Williams and Jones.
Hell yeah.
It sounds so exciting, man.
But
Monsters.
them activating Shelton, do you think that the Chiefs know there's something wrong with Chris Jones? Like,
No. I think
Colin
this is-
Saunders might get his ass sat down
I
for a
think
few days.
I think what it is if you look at the Chiefs' remaining schedule outside of the Broncos, so 2 of their 3 games, they're facing teams that can run the ball really well.
Yep.
And look, we're still fighting for the 1 seed here.
Yeah,
Raiders
Raiders.
Josh Jacobs leads the league in rushing yards.
Yeah.
So they have to win their next 3 games unless the Bills do drop 1. So they're like, look, we got to win our next 3. Get Danny Shelton, who's hungry, ready to go, fresh.
might play
Brandon
Kenny
Williams
Walker
is back.
this
Yeah,
week.
exactly. Kenneth Walker might play. Seahawks can run the ball. Let's add some depth in the middle of that, and then bring
monsters.
back Blake Bell so we can run the ball even better than
Yeah, I
we're
like
doing right
getting
now.
Blake Bell back, man.
That's
I
a
like
huge,
I like that.
yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
All right, so we went from one quarterback to another quarterback to another quarterback. Now let's go to another
Yeah,
quarterback.
let's keep the streak alive, baby. Hell yes.
Goddamn, 4 straight, baby. Jalen Hurts' chances of winning MVP are over with his injury.
Yes, yes, they are. The reason
nature of
why
the beast, man.
it is no offense to Jalen. He's had an incredible season. Jalen Hurts to me was one of the 3 favorites to win the MVP going into this week, but availability is everything when it comes to awards, in my opinion. Biggest reason why the NFL would be hypocrites if they still gave it to him if he missed just 1 game. You know why that is? Because in 2020, Patrick Mahomes had 4,800 yards and 38 touchdowns and only 6 interceptions. Chiefs went 14-1 in the games he played. He sat the final week because the Chiefs already shored up the 1 seed, didn't get MVP.
Yeah.
You can't give Jalen Hurts the MVP if he misses a single game. I don't care the reason why. Because they clinched the first round or first seed or an injury.
What if they go out there
You
and get their
can't-
cheeks clapped when he doesn't play?
That doesn't matter to me. And the biggest reason why is although that would help his
That-
value
that was-
look,
that's what was helping
you have
Tua.
You have to stay consistent with your approach. And here's the biggest reason why. Because while this is going on Jalen's side, Patrick Mahomes has reemerged. I know I said against the Broncos because he played like shit that he was not the MVP front runner in my eyes, but this stuff changes week to week as the
Absolutely.
season goes on. And here's just a season wrap up right now as it's currently constructed for Patrick Mahomes. And this is only going to get lapped now that Jalen's probably going to miss some time, at least 1 game. Patrick Mahomes has scored 76% of the Chiefs'
Yeah, I've seen
touchdowns
that
this season.
post,
Jalen Hurts has scored 66% of the Eagles' touchdowns this season. That's a 10% difference, and that's only going to go up now. Patrick Mahomes has as many passing touchdowns as Jalen Hurts has total touchdowns.
Doesn't he have like 12 rushing
He has
touchdowns?
13 rushing
That's
touchdowns,
That's insane.
but 22 passing touchdowns.
Yeah,
Great season.
that's ridiculous,
35
bro.
total touchdowns.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes has 3 additional rushing touchdowns
Yeah.
this season with 35 passing touchdowns. And lost Tyreek Hill, by the way. That kind of helps the whole
That's-
narrative
yeah,
aspect
for
of things.
sure, for sure.
And
And
he
a
has
new
more.
defense.
He has more passing yards this season than Jalen Hurts has combined yards this season.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes has 4,496 passing yards. Jalen Hurts has 4,219 total yards.
And we faced 4 of the top 10 defenses in the league this
on
year.
the road,
Yeah.
by the way.
Yeah.
2 of those were on the road, and the Chiefs dropped over 40 points against both of them. Niners and Bucks.
Yep.
Patrick Mahomes is the MVP.
For sure.
And crazy to think, just to add to Patrick Mahomes' craziness, I believe there was a stat out there that if he throws 280 passing yards in the next 3 games, he'll break the passing record.
Single
Yes.
season record. And he could also this week break the completion record,
completion, yeah.
which is crazy in itself
6
too.
more.
Yeah. So
about this?
and I think if he goes and grabs that record this week, that's like
about this?
that's a little sprinkle.
I don't know if you guys. Well, I haven't posted
sugar on
it
top
yet.
of
I
that
haven't
cake,
posted
baby.
it yet, but this is going to be one of the most unreal stats Patrick Mahomes is ever going to have. So check this out. If he gets 4 more passing yards, which that's going to happen this week, he gets 4 more passing yards for the season. That'll put him at 4,500 yards and 35 touchdowns. Right? He would join Tom Brady and Peyton Manning as the only quarterbacks to have 4 seasons with a 66-plus completion percentage, at least 4,500 passing yards, and 35 passing touchdowns. Those guys played a combined 50 years in the league. Patrick Mahomes has been an active quarterback for 5.
That's insane, bro.
And he's going to tie them for 4.
But
They're the only guys to do it.
But he's had an extra week the last 2 years.
When he does this, hear this out. This is even more insane. This is even more insane. When he throws those 4 yards and ties those 2 guys, he's going to have more seasons of those stats than Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers combined.
That's wild, bro.
Those are 2 of the 5 greatest quarterbacks to ever live. And in 5 seasons as a starter, Patrick Mahomes is going to have better seasons in totality than those 2 guys combined. Guys, this is why I say this is the greatest quarterback who's ever lived. I don't mean to derail this question.
Yeah.
This man is the MVP because of things like this and what he's doing without Tyreek Hill.
Exactly.
He's a better quarterback without Tyreek Hill. Think about that. Yeah. Like Tom Brady's greatest numbers of his career were always with Randy Moss and Gronk and Mike Evans. Imagine losing one of those guys and having better seasons.
And as much as I love my guy Aaron Rodgers, who's one of my all-time favorite players, near and dear to my heart, look how much he struggled without Devontae.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? Like,
Thank you.
They immediately became a run-first offense.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? I love my guy, but like, dude, it's been glaring.
He slowly Aaron Rodgers slowly starting to get confidence on that. Watson?
Yeah, 100%.
Dude.
And Dobbs is back. But look how much time it took in the whole season.
It took. They're pretty much almost out of the playoffs.
Yeah, and I mean, and
they have to win out, and a lot have to go right.
Yeah,
right.
Like the Lions have to lose out. I think that not the Bears, but the Vikings have to lose like 2 more.
I hope it happens.
I think the Cowboys have to lose a couple more. I think the Commanders have to lose a couple more. I think the Giants have to lose a couple. Like a lot has to go right.
But I mean, they got to go beat Miami. So that's tough enough as it is. We'll
talk about that in just a second.
Yeah.
So it's just.
I mean, listen. At the beginning of the year, when we did our MVP predictions, I gave it to Josh Allen because I felt the hype train was so heavy on them. I felt that they were going to try to find a way. Not that I thought he was more valuable than Pat in any way. We all know this. But I gave it to Josh Allen because I felt, because they still could be the best team in football at the end of the day. They still could win the AFC. And I just thought, like I said, the hype train behind Josh Allen to be the MVP this year was just so swayed the momentum was so swayed in his direction. I felt it was kind of inevitable. But he has had some issues, obviously some nagging injuries, and then some terrible performances, and some losses this year that were bad. But yeah, in my heart, in my mind, both, I do believe that Patrick Mahomes is always going to be, as long as he's playing in the NFL, is always going to be the most valuable. And that's how I felt about Peyton Manning, why he won so many, because everyone knows Peyton Manning was the most valuable quarterback at that. Everyone knew he was more talented and it was better than Tom Brady. But Tom Brady typically always had the better teams and obviously the better coach. You know what I mean? So there was just things that happened. There's a reason why Peyton won so many MVPs, because everyone knew he was the better player and he was more valuable to that team. He meant more to his team as that quarterback. So that's how I feel. The same way I feel about Pat. He's obviously the best quarterback in this league, and he's the most valuable guy. You take him off any team, any roster that he's on, that team is going to struggle massively just because of how much he produced. And you said 70+% of the points on this team is Patrick Mahomes. You know what I mean? So yes, Patrick Mahomes is the MVP, and yes, 100%. If Jalen Hurts, I think he might miss more than just this 1 week. It's looking like a shoulder sprain is a serious issue for a quarterback, regardless
especially
of
his throwing shoulder.
Exactly. So, and especially a guy that doesn't depend on his arm even as much as he should. He runs a lot, but still, that's going to take his running away. Even if he does return, he's not going to want to run as much because he doesn't want to hurt it further. You know what I mean? So that's going to limit his game even if he comes back.
And if Gardner Minshew plays well and they beat the Cowboys,
and he has done that in the past. Yeah.
Like there's no reason to play him for the rest of the season because then you lock up the NFC East.
Right.
You're going to get the 1 seed. Because then you'd have to lose your remaining 2 games, and the Vikings would have to win out.
Gardner goes out there,
that's
and
not happening,
beats
and
the
you won the
Cowboys.
tiebreaker against them because you whooped them early in the season.
Well, especially if he goes out and beats the Cowboys.
That's what I'm saying. Like if Gardner Minshew, because he's one of the best backups in football.
For sure.
He was a good starter with the Jaguars.
Absolutely.
If he goes out there and wins this game, or they just stay competitive, and they play well and lose a close game to the Cowboys on the road, and then you win your next week's game, don't play Jalen Hurts for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Get that first round bye, get him healthy, and then get him in the playoffs.
Yeah, Super Bowl is their goal. If Super Bowl is their goal, then make sure your quarterback's good.
At this point, the MVP shouldn't be what Jalen Hurts focuses on, because I guarantee you Patrick Mahomes ain't focused on it. I'm sure Patrick wants to win it, just like Jalen Hurts does, but they both have different goals in mind, which is to win Super Bowls, because they have teams that can win the Super Bowl. So that's what I think they're focusing on. But right now, honestly, if I'm giving you my MVP candidates, it's Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, and then Jalen Hurts. Because Joe Burrow has had more on him than Jalen Hurts even has had. Because if you look at the Eagles right now, that might be the most complete roster outside of the 49ers. They have the best offensive line. They have one of the best front sevens. They have an incredible secondary. They have an incredible running game. They have maybe the best receivers in totality outside of the Bengals, which I'll segue to that. The Bengals have had a ton of injuries on both sides of the ball. Their offensive line has been shaky at best. There's a lot of deficiencies on the Bengals, and what's been their one consistent piece? Because Jamar Chase missed, 5 games? T. Higgins has been banged up. Tyler Boyd's been banged up. Joe Mixon's been banged up. Their offensive line's been banged up. Trey Hendrickson's got a broken wrist. Like, all these guys have been banged up. Joe Burrow is second in the league in passing yards, or third in the league in passing yards, second in touchdown passes, third or fourth in quarterback rating. Like, they have one of the best records in football. Like, I would put Joe Burrow over him in the MVP race, honestly, especially now that Jalen Hurts is going to miss time.
Josh Allen's still got to be in that conversation, bro. They're the second highest scoring team in the league, and he probably accumulates more scoring than Patrick Mahomes does for our offense.
The problem with Josh Allen, though, is that Josh Allen for the last 2 months has not played good football. He's had one really good game in the last 8 weeks. I'm just saying, though, like, the Bills have been winning despite him sometimes.
We just went to overtime with the Texans.
He's the direct reason why they lost against the Vikings. He's the direct reason why they lost to the Jets. There's a lot of Josh Allen has been bad a lot this season.
But the Jets are arguably one of the best top 3, top 4 defenses in the league.
And they might miss the playoffs. He got outplayed by Zach Wilson. That's my point. Like, the only good game Zach Wilson's had this season, ironically, was against the Bills when he outplayed Josh Allen on that same field, and Josh Allen had 3 turnovers. So I'm just saying that Josh Allen is definitely in the conversation, but he's on the far end of it. Like, I would have 3 or 4 guys above him, right? Like, you can't make the case over Jalen Hurts, right? You can't make the case over Joe Burrow.
I mean, they are the second highest scoring offense outside of us, and he's probably more responsible for more points than Patrick Mahomes is this year.
No, he actually isn't now. Not now.
No?
Here's the thing, though. It's got
to be close.
A lot of their scoring, though, have come in bunches. Like, I remember against the Titans early in the year, they had 47 points. Yeah. But then they'll have games where they score 17 against the Jets, score 19 against the Dolphins, 24 against the Chiefs. That's not a lot of points. They weren't scoring. Like, it comes in bunches where they blow teams
we're the best.
out.
I'm not comparing our offenses, but I'm just saying the amount of that is on his shoulders. He has to do pretty much everything for that offense as well.
Patrick has more total touchdowns this season than Josh Allen.
Sure.
So that's what I'm saying. Like,
I'm just saying. I know
fewer turnovers.
Pat is up here.
Yeah,
we're not talking. I'm not comparing the two. I'm just saying as far as the conversation with MVP.
I would have Josh Allen like 4.
I'd
have him at 4 probably. I'd say 4. Just because I think it's Joe Burrow's having a better season.
I think
Jalen Hurts is having a better season.
I think Josh Allen's more valuable to his team than Jalen Hurts is, bro.
I won't disagree with that. How about we put Josh Allen at 3? Regardless, there are multiple people I would have. I'm just saying there are multiple people I'd have over Josh Allen.
Yeah,
there are multiple people. I will not move off Joe Burrow, and I will not move off Patrick Mahomes as far as
Joe Burrow's definitely crept in, man.
Yes,
he had a slow start, but he's been incredible
unreal
lately.
He's been unreal, and he tore the Chiefs apart.
Yeah,
like when it comes to situational moments, Joe Burrow was nails against
Josh
the
Allen
Chiefs.
Josh Allen was like Josh Allen was good against us too. I'm not gonna act like he didn't play. He had a really good game against us as well. So
yeah, he was good. It wasn't impressive. Like, it wasn't like, oh my God, that was whoa. They just put 38 points.
It was a
like, you know what I mean?
Smart
Like,
game. Didn't turn it over at all. Had almost about 300 passing yards, a couple touchdowns. Like, it was.
Yeah, but Joe Burrow did that against the Chiefs with Trent McDuffie.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, I think Willie Gay was out that game too. Yeah, Willie Gay was out of that game too. He played against the Bengals as well. So, and Joe Burrow played significantly better than Josh Allen did against the Chiefs. Let's just be real here. He played significantly better. Dude had like 380 passing yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yes.
Like, he killed the Chiefs.
I do think if Jalen Hurts is out for a couple games, I do think it's going to come down to Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, and I think Joe Burrow's going to potentially get it. Obviously, we know MVPs are a lot about narrative and stats, and Joe Burrow has both.
I don't think there's any way he gets over Pat,
especially by beating Pat Mahomes in the regular season.
Hold on. Real quick. I understand what you're saying, but think about this. Patrick Mahomes is on pace to have over 5,400 passing yards and over 40 passing touchdowns, and may possibly tie the number 1 seed in the AFC.
Right.
All those things happen without Tyreek Hill. Like Shannon Sharp said on Undisputed this morning, you literally can't give it to anybody else. If he even gets close to the all-time single-season passing yards
what did
record,
Skip say, though?
Oh, you already know.
Well, but I mean, when Joe Burrow is very much responsible for the hole they dug themselves in earlier that they're trying to climb out of now,
Right.
Because they could be a 12, 13 win team
'cause it was the
right
turnovers,
now,
the fumbles.
right?
Yeah.
But he was a part of that. You know what I mean? I mean, granted, he was getting his ass sacked a shit ton, but he was also turning the ball over a lot earlier in the year. They were struggling. They lost to the Steelers. They had no business losing to, in my mind. Granted, the Steelers had T.J. Watt.
That was a crazy game.
That was a weird game, but I'm saying they still found a way to lose that game. You know, so they put themselves in a hole. He was very much responsible for them digging them. They're climbing out of it in a very great fashion at this moment, but still, Patrick Mahomes never put his team in a hole like that. You know, I mean, he's been consistently the best quarterback in the league so far this year. Had a couple rough games with the 3 interception game and so forth, but I mean, Patrick Mahomes is the most valuable football player in the NFL.
Yeah,
It's
the Bengals
not
have
even-
won 8 of their last 9 games.
Of course,
Yeah.
right, and they've been dominating too for the most part. Had a couple
They
close
play
ones,
the
but-
Bills next week.
They go to New England this week, and then they host the Bills on.
New
See,
England
they host
is a
the Bills
trap
on-
game.
They
New England
host
is a
the
trap
Bill-
game, though. It
has to
They host the Bills on Monday Night Football at home.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
dude.
going to be a dynamite
Fireworks,
game.
baby.
That's gonna be a fucking game.
That's
Watch me
hey,
like 7 to 10.
I'm not getting too far ahead of myself. hey, I'm not getting too far ahead of myself, but I think that's the game where the Bills finally miss Von Miller.
That's what the Chiefs. Well, that's
That's
what the
the
Chiefs
the
can
game. That's
sneak
what I'm
in there,
saying,
baby.
guys. I still very much think the Chiefs are going to get the 1 seed. I still very much think them, and that could be the game
Crack
that
that door
decides
open,
it.
maybe.
That could be the game that decides it because the Bills they don't have an easy schedule remaining, guys. They still
Yeah.
have to play
Bengals either.
They're going to Chicago, so they should win that one.
Yeah.
But then they go to Cincinnati, and then they finish the season off with the Patriots. I'm not saying the Patriots are going to beat them. Probably won't.
I mean,
but
what would be better if the Bengals lost to the Patriots this week? Have all that angst in them, and then let all that angst out against the Bills. That's why I want them to lose this week.
Destroy the Bills.
Bro.
Imagine if Joe Burrow comes out, throws
Telling you.
for like 3-4 touchdowns,
It's
380
poetic, bro.
yards
I need it to happen.
against the Bills.
saying
It could happen.
what I'm saying.
Patriots are absolutely a trap game.
All
this
right,
week, though.
let's move on. Let's take 2 more questions. Now we're switching into baseball. We're done with the quarterback talk, unfortunately.
Baseball.
All right, so Eric Hosmer has been released by the Red Sox. Should the Royals reach out and bring him home?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. He's still a good enough player, and one thing we know about the Royals is that they're obviously they're very fixated on getting fan favorites. They've done this in the past, even with Gerard Dyson and guys
Greinke.
like that.
They'll
They
probably
brought
bring
them
Greinke
back.
back.
Yeah, they brought in Greinke back. Exactly. Thank you. Hosmer, I think, is 31 or 32 now. He's still capable of playing. He's not going to demand a humongous market because now this would be his 3rd team in the last year. I think it's time. And the Royals have I would say a glaring hole at first base, and that is where he was incredible at, especially defensively. So it makes a lot of sense. I think he'd be very much open-minded to it. And with all the influx this offseason that's going on with the managerial changes and all that stuff, you need to put a face to it. And Salvi being there still is great and all, but Haas there was something special about him in this city. I remember, man, everybody was getting his haircuts. It was very Patrick Mahomes-esque.
Yep.
Everybody really flocked to Hosmer for whatever reason. And he was a really good player for this team, too. He loved Kansas City, embraced Kansas City, and I think it would make a lot of sense. So, yeah, I'm rooting for that to happen. That was actually something I was thinking about when I heard the Red Sox released him. I was hoping that would happen, and I do think there's a really good chance it does.
Yeah, there's something about, and especially in baseball, like veterans that are familiar with your franchise and have played. We've seen guys come back to the Red Sox that have played for them before, in New York and things like that. It's something about bringing Greinke back was like a cool, like nostalgic feel. A guy that was just entrenched in the culture and the lore of the franchise and the city. He was definitely a culture changing kind of guy. He wasn't never the greatest player, but he just kind of had this way about him that like people just were magnetized to him. Obviously, a lot of females were magnetized to him for reasons.
As you can imagine.
Yeah. So, I mean, he obviously 100%, I think, an all-time fan favorite in the city, and brought a championship to the city and is forever and it's entrenched in the lure of the Royals franchise. So I think it would be a no-brainer, I think, to bring him back because he'll be super cheap. A guy that loved this city, did the unthinkable for this city. Honestly, for an underdog team to do what they did was just an incredible story that'll forever be treasured here in the city. So I think bringing a guy back like him, and I think there's a good chance Greinke's back here again for another year or so. So bring guys back like that on a young roster with a lot of young up-and-coming studs in this team. I believe I have a lot of young up-and-coming talent here to kind of be around them and help develop these guys. I think it's a no-brainer signing for me personally. So
And you know what's funny? The Cincinnati Reds have designated Mike Moustakas for assignment. So
Yeah, Mike's been bad though.
Yeah.
Like Mike's bad. He had his time.
He had a
and
nice
he's-
little run.
Yeah, Hosmer's a significantly better baseball player. So yeah,
Well, he doesn't depend
you
on.
wouldn't
He doesn't
bring him
depend
back
on
as a
slugging.
I would bring
As a
him back.
bench?
I would bring him back in a capacity of being in the minor leagues, and if he plays well, bring him back up as a veteran. I'm not closed-minded to that idea because Moose had himself a great run in Kansas City.
Yeah.
I think that runs long.
Well, when you're
long
a
on.
slugger and you depend on being a slugger, like a guy that hits home runs and stuff, it's just kind of fizzle out a little faster
Yeah.
than most. Hosmer's a guy that he's kind of a do-it-all kind of guy. You know, good fielder, good consistent hitter at times. You know, has hot streaks.
And when it comes to Hosmer as well, we got to remember the Padres are still paying him.
Yeah.
So you don't have to pay him really anything. You can give him a league minimum, bring him up, and then they're still paying him, I think it's like $17.5 million this year. So he's still going to make money no matter
Is it
where
like
he
a 10-year
goes.
deal?
Good for
yeah.
him.
Yeah, exactly. He's
for
still
him.
making like between $17-20 million this year.
Yeah.
So, and that
he's
contract,
not struggling
I think that
for money.
contract goes until he's like 36.
yeah, I think it
So,
was a 10-year contract.
yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
All right, last question. Another baseball question. Carlos Correa failed his Giants physical and has now signed with the Mets instead of obviously the Giants for I believe it was 13 years, $315 million.
Yeah.
So
This feels really dirty. It feels really, really sketchy. It honestly reminds me of back when A-Rod was going to sign with the Red Sox, and then all of a sudden some weird-ass failed physical thing happened, and he goes to the Yankees immediately. It kind of feels like Correa may have sabotaged this. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. It sounds like he sandbagged this a little bit, because initially the money sounds good, and then all of a sudden he's like, well, I don't really want to play here. And it sounds crazy, too, because the Giants are an up-and-coming team. It's in San Francisco. It looks great. But with taxes and maybe some insecurities about where he's going to play, maybe they wanted him to change a position. A lot of things are playing into this. It sounds to me very convenient, and I don't like it because baseball lets this shit happen far too often. And the NFL does, too, in some regard, like with the NFL draft. John Elway bitched until he didn't have to go to the Colts. Eli Manning bitched because he's going to play for the Chargers. Like, this shit happens a lot. This is different, though, because you're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars involved for a veteran. And I just don't like it at all. I hope it works out for Carlos Correa still. But like I told you last week, and I'll say it again, whoever pays these kinds of contracts out, they have to understand what they're really getting into. You're going to pay a guy for not playing baseball anymore. Look at every single 10-plus year contract in baseball. I'm talking about the ones that have already kind of played out.
Yeah.
Albert Pujols, A-Rod. 3-4 years into it, you're like, damn, we really like this.
Yeah.
And then you remember, oh, they're 35. Oh, they're 36. This was fun. It's not going to last.
Get the steroids.
You're going to get 30-40% out of that deal. Aaron Judge, same thing.
Yeah.
As much as I love Bryce Harper, he's already in his 30. He's 30 years old now.
He's
That's
incredible
not going to
this year.
go great either. Mike Trout, already starting to have injury problems. Now is 30 years old. All these are going to end badly. So I really hope the Mets now, not the Giants anymore, but the Mets now really understand what they're getting into. Is they're going to be paying this guy at 41 years old, and he retired 3 years before that. So happy for Correa. Obviously went to the market he wanted to go to, but the Mets are fucked.
Yeah, it definitely reeks of collusion with the Mets and Correa. A guy fails the physical. I don't really know if they detailed how he failed it. They didn't really go into detail how he failed the physical, but he fails it, and immediately the team takes in the guy that fails the physical as if there shouldn't be any trust issues there. Like that's super
sus.
sketchy, bro.
Kinda
so
sus.
yeah, like that is weird. Because I know even if just going in for a job interview and you fail your physical, like me, I'm a FedEx guy, so I know a lot of drivers. We've had drivers that were hired or hired, but then they failed their physical and they had some kind of drugs in their system or something like that. Something came back positive for something we can't allow. They're not just going to immediately go get hired by UPS. You know what I mean? They had that failed physical in the data there. So that's just a strange little thing that the Mets immediately just got him somehow. That's some big time money too. So they got a lot of trust going into that guy. It definitely felt self-sabotage for sure and some collusion going on there. But hey, it's baseball. You know what I mean? So this is what they do. I'm not surprised by it, but good for him, man. I'm never gonna shit on anybody's bag. He got the money. That's life-changing money, so I'm happy for somebody to get that, especially for athletes that have worked their whole lives to get there. And he got there. He's in the market he wants to be in. Good luck to him and the Mets. That's about it, man.
I was reading somewhere that the Mets, I think this offseason has spent over $1 billion in contracts with players.
Yeah, they're all in.
They're
apparently.
desperate right now, man. I mean, look, Jacob deGrom is still a great pitcher, but he's starting to deal with injuries at, 29, 30 years old. So they're like, well, we have like one last real shot at this. I know that they still have, what's his name? Max Scherzer still on
They
contract.
just got Verlander, too.
Max Scherzer's 39.
Verlander's still balling,
Verlander's 40, who's still incredible.
He's just one of those rare guys.
It's crazy how
Yeah.
great he still is, despite the fact he's had several injuries.
Yeah.
But they're older, man. The Mets they're relying Alonso. How much more great baseball does he have? Like, they really are banking on winning now, and the Mets felt like they should have won the World Series this last year. You add Correa to the equation. Yeah, you got a really good opportunity, but you better win now because this team's going to get old quick, a lot of retiring guys, and then you're going to be paying Correa deep into his 30s, early 40s a lot of money.
Yep. It's crazy, man.
Great Eddie Hour, man. We appreciate that each and every week. It's one of my favorite segments because we literally have no idea where Eddie's going to go, but I can't wait to get there, and it's always a good one, man. I want to get to some Week 16 NFL picks because there's some interesting matchups this week, and I want to start right here in Minnesota. The Minnesota Vikings are hosting the New York Jets, a team that have been really struggling of late to win any games at all. The Giants started off hot this season, looked like a team that had a lot of promise. I know they were banking on their schedule being really light. Daniel Jones was not turning the ball over at the clip he once was over the last couple of seasons. Brian Daboll's really gotten his hands over this team, and you can tell there's been a cultural difference, and it's been great for the Giants. They've been really struggling of late. And then you look at the Vikings, a team that has the second best record in the NFC with the 2 seed very, very much in their grips right now. A team that's also coming off the most historic win in the history of the NFL. A team that was down 33-0 to the Colts before the first half even ended last week, and then came back and outscored the Colts 36-0, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah,
36 unanswered points.
36 unanswered points. 36-3, I apologize. Yeah, then they went into they kicked the field goal.
That's right.
So it was 39-36. So they
Incredible game,
outscored them 39-3 in the second half, and overtime included. Unbelievable. So that's a kind of win that you could say, like, oh, that's going to uplift a team, that's going to bring them out, that all these things are going right. Kirk Cousins comes out and plays really well. The Vikings are, they're the back now. Not so fast. The Vikings are a team that cannot stop the run. You saw the Colts without Jonathan Taylor after the first drive still running all over their defense.
Deion Jackson was
with
running all over.
precision.
Yep.
And Kirk Cousins still threw 2 horrific picks in that game. The Giants are a desperate team on the road. They're a team that, when doubted this season, have actually answered the call. They got a lot of help against the Commanders with the officiating, my God. But that whole game, you never felt like who was going to win the game. They were neck and neck the entire time. Good divisional fight. And that, to me, is a win that's going to help them more than the win last week's going to help the Vikings. The Vikings are a team that's also really bad against the NFC East this year. Their 2 worst losses by far this year were against the Eagles and the Cowboys, and one was on the road and one was away. Lost to the Eagles early in the year 24-7, and then got destroyed about a month ago against the Cowboys at home, 40-3. There's something about NFC teams, and even when they beat the Commanders, they won 20-17. Wasn't a big, convincing victory at all. In fact, Commanders had multiple opportunities to win that game because I watched that entire game.
Yep.
I think the Giants are going to come here and upset the Vikings. The Vikings are a 4-point favorite at home. They should win this game. Just like they shouldn't have been down 33 points to the fucking Colts, who got eliminated from the playoffs with 3 weeks to go. This is a team that when expectations heap upon them, they falter. Congrats to beating a 4-win team like that. Historic. It's fun. But this is a Giants team that has 8 wins, a much more talented roster, especially at quarterback right now. I think that with Saquon Barkley healthy and right again, with their offensive line shirt up again, with the Kayvon Thibodeau coming alive over these last 3-4 weeks, Kirk Cousins has been getting sacked at an substantial number over this last month and change. The Vikings defense being as bad as it's been right now. Dalvin Cook not running the same way that he was in the early parts of the season. I don't know if he's banged up or the offensive line's not getting opportunities. Regardless, guys, unless Justin Jefferson goes off, the Vikings don't win. Unless he has, because this last week, what do you have, 230 receiving yards, some crazy shit?
Yeah.
He went off,
and
they barely won. Like, unless he does that against this Giants defense, I don't think the Vikings, which he absolutely could. Yeah. And if they do, I'll be 100% right. Wrong. I'll be 100% wrong. I think the Giants are going to pull the upset off here, guys, because I think they need this win more. And I think that right now, the Vikings are a team of what people call destiny. I don't think they're a team that's destined to have a long playoff push. They have a ton of problems on this team, and I don't think they're going to fix it from one week to the next. Give me the Giants. I will say Giants don't cover the 4, but they win a very close 2 to 3 point victory.
I'm going to question that that the Giants need it more. I know the Giants are a team that are trying to make the playoffs. The Vikings are a team that are trying to win the one seed still. And if the Eagles are without their quarterback now for maybe the rest of the season, and Gardner Minshew goes out there and gets destroyed by the Cowboys, they're now within one game of the 1 seed in the NFC. So I think this is a moment where the Vikings can actually carry over that momentum from that last game. And, overcoming that kind of that odds of winning that game last week, it can either make or break you in a certain way going into the next game. It can take all the energy out of you, or you can take that and roll with that momentum. I'm expecting the Vikings to roll with that momentum. I think they're too talented. I think they're farly superiorly talented than the Giants are. I know they can't stop the run, and Saquon is an absolute just game wrecker. But I think the Vikings have more to play for here. I think they're trying to win that 1 seed, man. Like I said, if Gardner Minshew goes out there and plays in position for the Eagles, in the quarterback position for the Eagles, and he's bad, and they go get destroyed by the Cowboys, and then Jalen Hurts isn't ready the next week, and they lose that one again, they're tied with them. Yeah. If they win back-to-back games here, you know what I mean. So the 1 seed is still very much in the horizon possibly for this Vikings team. I've kind of called them frauds most of the year because they've had a lot of lucky wins, but that game last week was really convincing for me. I'm not going to lie. I was very impressed by them, the resilience, and not only the coaching, but that team just to stick with it and grind and get that W. That was incredibly impressive. So I'm picking the Vikings here, man. They're at home. Coming off that huge game. I don't think they blew their load last week. I think they roll with that momentum, and I don't believe in the Giants really either. I think they should have lost last week. I think they were gifted that win, honestly. So I'm taking the team that I'm just more confident in and has way more talent, and I think Justin Jefferson 100% is going to destroy that secondary. They don't have anybody that can stay with him, even if they try to bracket him. They have Osborne that went off last week. They got Hawkinson, who's playing really good football. And obviously, Dalvin Cook can run on them. I just think I think it's overwhelmingly mismatched in this matchup here. And granted, the Giants are a team that consistently holds teams lower, and they find ways to keep the game close. And that could be the case here, but I'm picking the Vikings to win this one. I think they actually have more to play for here.
I'll just push back real quick on when it comes to the desperation side of things, real quick. If the Vikings were to drop this game, they still very much they've won their division already. They've clinched the NFC North, which means they're going to have a home playoff game no matter what. Mm-hmm. I do agree that 1 seed is something they very much want to have.
Of course,
yes. The thing about it is, though, is if you look at conference records, so let's say the Giants were to lose this game, not only would they fall out of the playoffs, where the Seahawks, because the Seahawks, the Commanders have the 7 seed right now with 7 wins. Seahawks would have 7 wins right now, and the Lions have 7 wins. So they all would jump the Giants in tiebreakers because of conference record. The Giants are 4-5-1 in the conference. Seattle's 5-6. Playing an AFC team this week. Detroit's 5-4, which means they would be 5-5 at worst. And every other team below them has 5 wins, so they would be jumped by all these teams. So the desperation to make the playoffs to me is much more significant than for the Vikings to go for that 1 seed, even though they very much could get that.
I think it's more significant because the Giants are a team that no one's going to fear in the playoffs. They're going to make the playoffs. They might make the playoffs. They should have been knocked out last week.
No, I'm talking about perspective for the teams, like for the Giants. Like, we got to win this game. If we don't win this game, we're probably not going to make the playoffs.
That doesn't always matter, man. When they're outmatched this much by talent-wise.
No. I'm saying with the mentality of why the Giants are coming into this game, why I feel like they're going to play at their best is because they have to. They have to play their best. And the Vikings have been a very shaky team against the NFC East and at home. They've been blown out multiple times at home. They should have been blown out last week.
But I don't think the Giants have an offense that can blow anybody out.
Just like the Colts didn't. You know what I'm saying? Like we've seen the Vikings get destroyed by bad teams. They couldn't
score in the second half. That's what I'm saying. The Vikings shut them down the entire second half. You know what I mean? So, and plus, if we're being honest, if you watch that game, there was a couple big defensive plays there for the Colts that set them up to score points. It wasn't like Matt Ryan was out there just annihilating.
Oh yeah, no,
they
weren't
really that great offensively. They weren't really that great offensively. So I mean,
that's also a worry though. Kirk Cousins does these things. You know, in a game where they're expected to win, it's like
the Giants tend to be an opportunistic team too. They won that win against the Ravens was wild. They opportunistically and Thibodeau's a freaking beast, man. I love that guy.
Come alive, man.
He's definitely coming alive. But this just feels. I feel like the Giants should have been knocked out of the playoffs last week. They were gifted that game. I think Washington's the better team. They should have won that one. This is another beast though, talent wise, man. They're going against this offense. You're going against Taylor Heineke and McLaurin, guys like that. cool. You're going against arguably the best receiver in football.
I think
with
there's no argument
with the quarterback
anymore.
that's absolutely rolling right now.
I don't think there's any more argument.
At home,
he is.
it's just, yeah. But, I mean, look, man, football is a weird sport. We just went to overtime with the Texans. I'll say it again. So, I mean, the Giants, if they go out there and win, I won't be, like, shocked. But I feel good about the Vikings this week, man. I think they're very motivated. They want that 1 seed, and it's a possibility right now with Jalen Hurts out. So.
Yep.
I'm gonna pick the Vikings on this game. They're just by far the better team.
Fuck you, Eddie. I was kidding.
They're just by far the better team. I mean, thank God it's not a national television, or is it?
Is it an actually televised game? It's a noon game,
That's
right?
a noon game.
I don't think
It's gonna make some markets, but I don't think it's gonna
Okay,
be,
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
Kirk
right,
Cousins is
so-
gonna go fucking off.
No
so.
primetime Kirk.
Yeah,
Hey,
no-
primetime Kirk came back and won the greatest comeback in NFL history last week. So, just saying. I mean,
So, I mean, it's just I think the better receivers, the better team overall is the Vikings. Justin Jefferson
At
alone
home.
is the biggest difference in this matchup. He could potentially. You say he went over 250 yards last game, but he very well could again this week. The Giants are fighting with the elimination to the playoffs. I think that's a lot of pressure for them. I think them having that kind of pressure can hurt a team sometimes. The Vikings are kind of obviously they want the number 1 seed, but they're already in the play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think the less pressured team, more relaxed going into this game. I think the Vikings are gonna go do their thing. I just don't see.
You guys have them covering the -4?
Yeah, I do.
if they win, I think they win by at least a touchdown.
I just don't see Daniel Jones going destroying the Vikings defense.
Oh, I don't see that either. Even if they win, I don't.
Saquon
The Giants would have the Giants defense would have to force the ball turned
Yeah.
over many times,
which can happen. Kirk can
It
absolutely
could
go shit
happen.
the
It
bed.
could happen.
Would it shock you though if the Vikings allowed 210 rushing yards?
It
Because
would
this
not
Giants
shock
team
me
is
because-
6th in the league in rushing yards,
because it's Saquon Barkley.
and Daniel can run. Daniel can run the ball. Let's be real.
But I just think overall the Vikings are just a better team.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Yeah, if they're trailing,
That's why I call an upset.
If it's a boat race, Vikings going to run away with that game, man.
Yeah.
The second game I want to talk about is it's like a similar type of matchup. One really desperate team that's on the fringe of missing the playoffs or just not in the playoffs, on another team that's just way better than them. The Bengals are visiting the New England Patriots. The Bengals come into this game as 3-point road favorites. Over-under's 41.5. The Bengals are a team, like I said earlier, that have won 8 of their last 9 games, whereas the Patriots have lost 3 of their last 5 and are now currently outside of the playoff picture. They're the 8th seed in the AFC right now at 7-7. I want to be able to say with any conviction that I could see this being the same thing that I have with the Giants and the Vikings. I will not. Biggest reason why is what I just said about Joe Burrow and how big I am on him this year. Is the second. I think he's the second guy in the MVP race in my opinion, especially now that Jalen Hurts will miss time. How great he's been down this stretch, how good their defense is as the game goes on with all these second half adjustments that this team makes, the talent they have on offense with Jamar Chase back and better than maybe even ever that he's been. I mean, the dude missed, I think, 4 or 5 games. He's got almost 1,000 yards and almost 10 touchdowns. This dude's just unstoppable. And that's not including T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd and Joe Mixon at times. Samaje P. Ryan being a solid backup running back. This team is so goddamn stacked. And it's not even about them as to why I'm picking them in this game. It's because of the Patriots. They are such a goddamn snooze fest. They can't score on the offense.
It's perfect for this
and
matchup.
when this is a team that for the last 2+ decades have been one of the smartest, most methodical, fundamental teams in the league. Did you see how they just lost to the Las Vegas Raiders? Maybe the stupidest play in the history of the NFL. And the worst part about it is, it came from one of their smartest players. Jacoby Myers is an intellectual freak.
Bro.
This dude graduated at the top of his class, knows game schemes, everything. This dude's probably going to be a coach after he leaves the NFL, retires from the NFL. And he made one of the dumbest decisions in the history. Those kind of plays destroy teams. That will destroy the Patriots. And I think it will in this game. They don't have any juice. When they have faced good quarterbacks, they have gotten obliterated every single goddamn time. I don't believe in the Patriots at all. I never picked them to be a playoff team. I'm sticking with that. Mac Jones is terrible. They have a fucking defensive coordinator, a failed defensive coordinator, a failed defensive-minded head coach as their offensive coordinator. That never made sense. I think they're on the downswing, guys. I don't think the Bengals are going to lose another game this season. Take that for what you will, and you know what that means coming up. I don't think the Bengals lose the rest of the regular season. I think they're going to come in there, and I think they're going to put it on the Patriots, guys. I think they're going to win this game by multiple scores. I know the Patriots have a good defense. I know that what's his name, Rashad Stevenson, or the running back Stevenson, really good player. Ramondre Stevenson. The Bengals defense is too good. They're not going to let the Patriots score any points in this game. I'm not saying like 0. I'm saying like they're not going to score points that can keep this game competitive. I think the Bengals.
Nick Folk's going to go off.
I think I can see the Bengals scoring over 30 in this game.
Yeah.
I think this could be like a 31-14 kind of game. The Bengals are just so much better, and they're so much hotter right now. Hansel's so hot right now.
Hot.
So hot. I think the Bengals are going to win this game comfortably.
Man, yeah, I'm picking the Patriots.
Jeez.
I love it, baby. Let's go.
Oh,
trap game.
Fuck me.
Listen.
He called me crazy for the Giants?
Listen, no, it's similar to your Vikings take. Listen, I'm just taking the opposite of the psychology there. I think that they have to rally after that way to end the game. The most embarrassing way I think you can end a game. It was horrible. I couldn't believe it. I was watching it live, and I was trying to get your attention to what I just saw. It was incredible. I couldn't believe my eyes. I've never seen anything like that. Yeah. Look, that can definitely make or break, and they can go out there and just lay down and just take it this weekend. That can absolutely happen. The Bengals could absolutely just run all over them because they have their run defense is actually not very good. Their secondary has actually been their strength this year. So they've actually been, and then obviously Judon is a guy that just goes out there and just gets sacks every week. Yeah. He is a guy that can 100% wreck this game for the Bengals. Judon. If Judon's going out there and getting off, and he gets 3 sacks, and he's getting in Joe Burrow's head, because he's a guy that can do that. If they can get Joe Burrow down and they can consistently get pressures and sacks on him, I can see Joe Burrow kind of due for one of those multiple interception kind of games, a fumble, because we all know Joe Burrow has those games where he just absolutely just turns it over 3 or 4 times, and they lose. Right? Similar to that Steelers game. They had no real business losing. They should not have lost that game. They were at 100% full strength. Now, he was a little banged up, but they had all their weapons. And, they had that one guy, TJ Watt, was just getting after him.
Yeah.
If Judon can do that, and they can keep this game low scoring and force the Bengals to play to their pace, because Bengals want to play that up tempo, use their speedster guys, Jamar Chase, get them in an open space. If they start getting off, that game's over. But if the Patriots can find a way to make this game close and slow it down, have long drug out possessions, and can run the ball consistently, hit the tight ends on short little slant plays, move the sticks, 17 play drives, things like that, and even if they're ending it with a field goal here and there, or maybe a touchdown once or twice in the entire game, but they're consistently scoring points and slowing the game down with long drives, keeping Joe on the sidelines. This is a game, I think it's a trap game. I think this is a trap game for the Bengals because they're rolling right now. But Joe Burrow is always due for one of those, just like Josh Allen was when he was hot this year, and he ran into a couple games where he had multiple turnovers and they lost. That game where against the the Dolphins, where he had the numbers but they just could not score.
Yeah,
that could be a similar situation where the Patriots keep them out of the end zone. So I'm picking the Patriots here. I probably going to be wrong, but I just have kind of a gut feeling about this one. I think it's a lower scoring game for the Bengals that they would like. But if the Bengals go out there and win this game, I really will not be surprised. But I'm not banking on the offense of the Patriots in any way. I just think this is a game where they can go rattle Joe Burrow and the offensive line. This is a letdown spot for the offensive line to kind of allow a few sacks here and a couple turnovers. So I think that's what's going to happen, and I think the Patriots pull this one out.
I'll pick the Patriots.
You sons of bitches.
Let's go.
You guys are in on this.
Let's go.
There ain't no way in hell you guys both picked the Vikings and then flipped it on me. There ain't no way. Collusion. Correa's in on this, isn't he? You guys are with Correa. Ain't no way.
This has trap game written all over it, especially with the Bills coming into town next week for Monday Night Football.
Look ahead game.
And looking ahead.
The only way it's a trap game, though, is if the Bengals lose that game against the Patriots. It isn't a trap game for the Bills because the Bills will have 2 games on the Bills or the Bengals.
No, but it's a trap game. I think for the Bengals because they're looking ahead to the Bills.
Yeah,
you
they're
guys are
looking
giving the
ahead.
Patriots some credit here, man.
Yes.
When was the last good team the Patriots beat?
I don't know, but they don't always struggle against pocket passers. They struggle a lot against mobile quarterbacks.
They'll beat the Raiders.
They should have beat the Raiders, but that was terrible.
The Raiders are on a streak right now, you know? No, but I'm picking the Patriots for the simple fact that I think the Bengals are going to be looking too much forward into the Bills coming home next week. I think that's a bigger matchup than this is. I think they might be overlooking the competition this week, which is always a no-no. Could the Chiefs have been looking ahead in the competition, looking ahead into the playoffs? Maybe, and that's why the 2 last games were close. With the Broncos and the Texans. These 2 were games that the Chiefs fans and everybody had an easy win for the Chiefs in these 2 games, and they ended up struggling bad. And maybe because the players thought of the same thing. You know what I mean? So it's mind games at the end of the day, and I'm picking the mind games going into this game, and I think the Patriots, especially the way they lost last week, I think it's more of a let's go out there and do our thing.
We'll talk about teams that know they can make a playoffs if they get a win here. Patriots still have a chance.
Yeah, they still have a chance.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I think this is a bad matchup for the Bengals at the wrong time. This is a matchup that
After an embarrassing loss for the Patriots.
Yeah, that you do not want to have right before the Bills game.
It's true.
It's trap game written all over it, baby. So I'm picking.
Love it. Let's go.
Picking the Patriots on this one.
Fucking
Let's
nuts.
go.
All right, let's see who you pick so we can pick against you.
Oh, I already picked them. I picked the fucking Bengals. Oh yeah, next one. Okay, yeah. All right, so here we go. Now this is an interesting matchup here, fellas. This is something we got to definitely break down because this is something I feel you guys are going to go and collude again. So the Eagles visit the Cowboys. And we've talked about this a little bit with the whole Jalen Hurts absence thing, the confidence in Gardner Minshew, all these things. I want to address that directly first, and then I'm going to move to the Cowboys side of things. So Jalen Hurts not being there is going to be something that the Eagles are going to have to try to overcome because the dude is insanely good.
Mobility alone.
He's been unreal in both he's been a really good thrower of the
13
football
rushing
this year.
touchdowns, bro.
Yeah,
My
he hasn't
God.
turned the ball over a bunch this year. I think he has 22 touchdowns, like 6 interceptions, and 2 of them came this last week against the Bears, which was inexplicable. He has like 3,500 passing yards, 3,472 passing yards exactly.
Yeah.
But his legs have been what saved the Eagles big time this year.
For sure.
13 rushing touchdowns, just unbelievable.
And they probably have the best O-line in football.
I'm going to say this, though. I don't expect this massive drop-off with Gardner Minshew. And here's the reason why. When he was with Jacksonville, that team was horrible. He did not have close to the talent he has or the coaching that he has now. Yet, in the one season, in 2019, when Gardner Minshew was even considered like a full-time starter, he started only 12 games. In those 12 games, he threw for almost 3,300 yards, 21 touchdowns with only 6 interceptions. And that was with a team that did not have the talent anywhere near what the Eagles have. Now, with more experience as a backup quarterback, watching Jalen Hurts play, a ton of talent around him. A.J. Brown alone is a massive upgrade from anything he had in Jacksonville.
And the protection, that O-line's
The
great.
offensive line's the best in football. The running game is reliable as hell, even without Jalen Hurts. And their defense is one of the best defenses in the league, talent-wise. They have a great secondary and a really good front seven.
I'm going to rank second.
This is the same thing that the Niners are going to be asking from Brock Purdy. Just play manager. Just do the simple checkdowns. You see blitzes, call them off. You have a run game, use it. Don't make mistakes. Gardner Minshew's not a guy that makes a ton of mistakes, especially when he has a plethora of weapons to choose from. When Nick Sirianni, who's now becoming quickly one of the best coaches in football. The Cowboys, on the flip side, have a quarterback that everybody loves to rain praise on, literally, because his name's Rain, Dakota Rain. Yet, for some weird reason, people are overlooking the fact that Dakota Rain Prescott has a turnover problem. In the last 4 games, man's got 7 interceptions and an additional 3 fumbles. That is 10 turnovers in a 4-game stretch. Not to mention the fact he's played some of the worst defenses in football during that stretch.
Yeah, the Texans. He had
The
3
Texans
turnovers
should have
against the
beaten them.
Texans.
Like, his defense, the Cowboys' defense saved him.
Yeah.
He threw a horrific pick in the fourth quarter. As
Terrible.
great as Patrick Mahomes was in the fourth and overtime, Dak was equally as bad in the fourth quarter against the Texans and should have lost that game. Guys, I think I have more confidence in Gardner Minshew in this matchup than Dak Prescott. I really do. I have more confidence because the Eagles are the better team. They have the better coach. They have the better situation going on right now. And I don't believe in the Cowboys. I never have. I know they have a 10-4 record. But they're a team that piles up on bad teams and then struggles against good teams more times than not. And the Eagles are one of the best teams in football. I am confidently picking the Eagles in this matchup. I think they're going to beat the Cowboys. Might be a close game. Because, again, you will miss Jalen Hurts in some regard because the guy is insanely valuable. But Gardner Minshew is going to do enough. I think I could see him throwing 240, 250 passing yards, a couple touchdowns, stay out of the way, let the run game do their job, let A.J. Brown eat with yak yards, let Devontae Smith eat with yak yards, let these guys do their jobs. Defense makes a couple key plays on the defensive side, especially if Dak's out there handing out Christmas gifts like he has over the last month. Also the fact, the only loss that the Eagles have this season, they had 4 turnovers. 3 fumbles lost in that game, and uncharacteristically, Jalen Hurts threw a touchdown or in a red zone pick. I think it's only of the season, right? His only red zone turnover this year, and they lost to the Commanders. Do you guys know how many turnovers the Eagles had before that in the season? 3.
Yeah.
They had 3 turnovers all season before that game.
Yeah.
They're one of the best teams at protecting the ball. I don't think they're going to have 4 turnovers against the Cowboys, even though they have Micah Parsons. I think that offensive line is going to make that game hard for Micah Parsons. They're going to work around Micah Parsons, and they're going to make the Cowboys' day a living hell, and it's going to make that hot seat under Mike McCarthy that much hotter. I'm picking the Eagles to win this game, and I'm picking them confidently.
Yeah, man, this is a tough one. This is because I do like Gardner Minshew a lot too. I've always liked him. I like what he does. He's pretty safe with the football and smart guy. And has that kind of Heineke way about him where he kind of he just finds ways to win. He was good with Jacksonville. He found ways to win. Obviously, the Minshew mania was a thing for a reason because he was finding ways to win games for that team. That wasn't even a very good team at all. I got to go with the Cowboys here, though, because I think the X factor here is because as good as the Eagles' defense is, as good as their defense is, they do allow a lot of running. That's kind of their weak point on their defense. And the Cowboys, what do they do best? They run the ball. And they got one of the best duos at running the football in the league. And I just think this is a game where Pollard and Zeke are going to eat. They're not very good at meeting quarterbacks at the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage. They always allow, a few yards before they really get somebody on, touching them. And Pollard, what he does best is he'll make the first guy miss almost every single time. And he talk about yak. Yards after his touch, just getting the ball, that guy just creates yards, man. And Zeke's been playing pretty well this year as well, especially in the red zone. They're very good at punching that ball in. As good as that D-line is and as good as that secondary is, they do allow a lot of running against them. And if the Cowboys' defense comes to play and they're getting after Gardner Minshew and Parsons is getting after Minshew and they can run the ball, I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. And I think with Dak's struggles as of late, I think obviously Coach McCarthy knows that. I think the team knows that. They're going to try to run the ball a lot. This is a 50-50 game. This is a pick 'em for me. But I think my lean is towards the Cowboys after coming off that devastating loss where they were up big on the Jags and they let them backdoor them into overtime. That was a rough one to take. That could mess with the psyche, and that could it always comes down to teams, how do they respond to losses like that. You know what I mean? And Dak, I have no faith in Dak. But I do love their defense. I do love their running backs. I love the way they play when their running backs get going. We saw what they did to the Vikings when they ran all over them. And that's a good Vikings team, a better team than that they faced in the Jags, and they let the Jags get the best of them that game. So the Cowboys are a weird team. They tend to have streaky wins and then they have really bad losses. They lost to the Bucks, this year. A team that's been terrible for the most part, to open the year. I'm picking the Cowboys here, kind of just that's my lean. I want to pick the Eagles, but I'm just kind of my lean is I don't really know what to expect from Gardner in this offense. I'm not expecting them to lean on him to be the guy to steer the ship. That's kind of what he's supposed to do here, but I just think there's a chance here where this Cowboys defense can get after Gardner and it can be a long day for the Eagles offense.
Are you taking Cowboys plus 4.5?
No, I would say 2.5.
Okay.
I think this game comes down to a field goal probably. It's going to be a tight game. I don't think any team scores more than 25.
Oh, okay.
I think this is one of those games where, because the Eagles, as of late, they've been scoring a lot more points, but the Eagles tend to play in a lot of close games, and so do the Cowboys, because they're both more defensive-minded teams, and they both like to run the ball. That just is an ingredient.
That's a slow the game.
A recipe for a low-scoring defensive run-heavy game, and I think. Right now, I'm going to give that edge to the team that has their quarterback. Granted, he's been playing bad, but has the better running back tandem and the better defense in my mind. The defense are damn near equal, for being honest. But getting after the quarterback, I think the Cowboys are better than that because they have Micah Parsons, who might be the best in the league.
Outside of TJ Watt, you're probably right.
So I think if he can get after Gardner Minshew, it could be a long day, and I think this game comes down to a field goal. So this is a tough one to pick. I want the Eagles to win just because I can't stand the Cowboys, but I'm leaning the Cowboys here in this one.
Oh man, this is where we grew apart.
Yes,
let me down.
I'm picking the Eagles in this game. I think this is the game where we're gonna see that as a whole, the Eagles are a complete team. Are the team we all knew they were.
This is a statement game right here, man.
Yeah. They win the 1 seed. Mm-hmm. That's just as simple as that. All they got to do is win, and they lock up the 1 seed. Because there's nothing
Especially
else.
If the Vikings lose.
No, because the Vikings right now are 2 games behind. So
they could drop their last 2 games, though.
Yeah, but
the Vikings win out.
They own the tiebreaker with the Vikings.
Okay, yeah. Okay, you're right.
Yeah, so the Eagles would automatically be the number 1 seed if they win this weekend.
True.
Because there is no other way for the Vikings to take that spot.
It's a lot of pressure on Gardner, man.
It's a lot of pressure, but I think they can very well do that. I think Gardner Minshew it's a great backup. We seen what he's able to do, especially with a very bad Jaguars team a couple years back.
And that guy has all the confidence in the world.
Yes.
Extremely confident guy.
He has the talent with AJ Brown, Devontae Smith. He has a great talent around him to help him succeed in this game. That defense is crazy.
I think that was Goddard's back this week too, or unless they're talking.
No, he is.
He is back.
Yes, he is.
Huge.
Thank you for bringing that. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, so that's even another addition. So even another great addition to Gardner Minshew to make it easier for him. I just think that the Eagles are by far the better team, even without Jalen Hurts. I think with Jalen Hurts would make me feel even more confident of a blowout in this game than with Gardner Minshew. I think it's going to be a lot closer because we are going to see that the Eagles will miss a little bit of Jalen Hurts. Game's going to be much closer. We're going to see some mistakes from Gardner Minshew. Obviously, he hasn't played in a game in a while. So
he's been practicing all week, prepping with the team. I mean, that's
that's all. And he knows the plays. He's been there the whole
2 years
season.
now. This is his second year.
So he knows what the deal is. So I think
win.
he's going to do a very good job. Eagles are gonna lock up the number 1 seed and go on about their day.
I love it. I hope they win, man. I really do.
The final game I want to talk about, again, we try to keep it around 2 to 3 because I know we have a lot of other segments we expand on, but we'll give you our full slate on Sundays as we do each and every week, or Saturday rather this week because of the games that are playing on Saturday. The Packers are going to the Dolphins in Miami. The Dolphins are 3.5-point favorites. The over-under is 49.5, so they're expecting points in this one. I listened to Aaron Rodgers talk this week after that victory they just had at home, feeling really good about themselves because, everything they said, he feels that everything's going their way, which it really hasn't because the Lions still won, so that didn't help them at all, when it comes to the tiebreakers and things of that nature. But the Packers, they feel a little bit more confident now. I think that because, the run game has been getting better. Aaron Rodgers has been getting on the same page with Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson, these young guys. So it is looking like things are on the up. And I do expect that Aaron Rodgers is going to be their quarterback next season. I do think they're going to trade Jordan Love.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be some more peace around the Packers next season going into this next offseason. That doesn't mean that I think that things are going to go right for the Packers this week because the Dolphins are a team that should have very much had a win in Buffalo this last week. Very, very frustrating loss. They were doing whatever they wanted against that Bills defense. They were moving the ball with ease, and they were actually making Josh Allen's night pretty difficult. They were hitting him hard. They were making the Bills punt 3 and outs left and right. A lot was going right for the Bills, man. They had the Dolphins. They had a late game lead by a touchdown. Like, a lot was going right for them, and they squandered it. Absolutely squandered it. Guys, I think the Packers are about to get blown out. I think the Dolphins are going to put up a lot of points this week. They're back home, warm weather, everyone's healthy. Their defense isn't great by any means, but guys, one thing we know about the Packers offense is they've been very inconsistent, especially in the pass game. It's been very difficult. So credit to the Packers for finding it. For finding something, and I can see them putting up 20 to 25 points in this game. I think the Bills are the Dolphins are gonna put up around 35 to 38 points in this game. I think they're gonna win this game by double digits because I think they're the better team. Being back home, pissed off, knowing they still have to win to get to the playoffs. Nothing's guaranteed for them. They're in the AFC, which is the much tougher conference. They know they still have a chance to win their division, which they're not going to, but they have a chance. They split with the Bills. They're down a couple games. Bills could lose a couple games, and then all of a sudden they can get the AFC East. I think you're going to see the best version of the Dolphins in a while, and I think they're going to whoop the Packers in this one, man, and put to bed this theory that the Packers could squeak into the playoffs. I don't think that's going to happen. I definitely think they're going to cover the 3.5. I do think there's going to be over/under on the 49.5. I'm going to take the over in that one because, like I said, I think the Dolphins are going to score 35 to 38 on their own, and they're going to get some things right at home and beat the Packers.
Yeah, this. As much as I love the secondary, the Packers, Jair Alexander, one of my favorite defensive players. I love that guy. He's one of the best corners. They're in for it, man. This is a tough matchup for any secondary, and they're not the Miami boys, like you said, are coming home to the warmer, nicer Florida weather. Aaron Rodgers plays well in warm weather as well, but they thrive when it's the cold bitterness to their, the frozen tundra over there in Green Bay. It's much more difficult for traveling teams to go there and play. So this this being in Miami is a tough spot for this Packers secondary. I think the Tyreek Hill, what they call him, the Penguin and the Cheetah over there are going to just absolutely just deep pants that secondary. Unfortunately, I want to see that. I'm rooting for I want personally the Packers to win this game just because I want to. The playoffs are always just better when you got Aaron Rodgers there. Just to have that chance, and I love him as my guy. So I want to see that. But unfortunately, I got to go against him here in this week, this matchup here. I think it's too much for that secondary. Granted, I do think the Packers will keep this game closer than you are. I think that secondary for Miami's bad. And they got good talent over there that for some reason they just been getting shredded pretty much all year. So I think this is a game where Aaron Rodgers actually has a good game because I think they're going to be forced to run because Miami's actually pretty good at stopping or forced to pass because Miami's pretty good at stopping the run. I will say their defensive line has been pretty good against the run for the most part. So I think Aaron Rodgers is going to have to air it out a little bit more than he probably wants to because they're a run-first offense at this point. But I think Aaron Rodgers will play well. I think he'll keep it close enough, and I think Christian Watson's been a touchdown machine this year. Should have had another one last week if he didn't run the wrong route to end that game. Should have had another one. He's up there with tops in the league at touchdowns, receiving touchdowns already. He's only had like 5 really good weeks. It's crazy. But that's kind of how Aaron Rodgers does. When he finds one guy, he just lights it up with them. We've seen it with other guys and throughout his career. He's done that with. So I think it will be a competitive game. I'm not going to say they're going to get blown out. I think they do lose by a touchdown at least. But I don't think they lose by double digits. I think it's close throughout. I think both teams trade touchdowns. I think it's going to be a shootout for sure. Which doesn't. You don't think a shootout would the Packers would be in it. If it's a shootout, they're typically getting blown out because they're a slower pace offense, run the ball. But yeah, I think the Packers lose this one by a touchdown, but I think it's a fun, eventful game throughout, and I think it is a shootout, but I think they end up losing late in the fourth, and Miami gets back on track in the W column here because they need to. They need this win big. They need it more than the Packers, if we're being honest, because they're in a tight race in that division. Yep. They're in a tight race in the AFC, and the Packers just haven't really been looked at as a playoff team pretty much all year. So, yeah. So I'm picking the Packers to lose by at least a touchdown here.
Yep.
I'll pick Miami as well.
Yeah.
I think we all can agree they're the better team.
Yeah.
The way the Packers have struggled this year, obviously going up against a stacked team like Miami, obviously not going to be very easy. Would I be shocked if Aaron Rodgers goes out there and fucking pulls out a win to Miami? Yes, I would absolutely be shocked because it should not happen. If Miami loses this game and the Patriots win, like me and Trevor had, they both would be tied at 8-7. It's getting close to the end of the season, and you can't drop games now late in the season, especially if you're trying to. I think Miami's currently the 7th seed right now, and I think if they lose, they could potentially fall out of that 7th seed.
Chargers
and out
are
of
right
the
there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And out of the playoffs. So this is a
And the
must.
Chargers beat them, so the tiebreaker goes to the Chargers.
The Chargers. So it's a must-win situation for Miami, and I think they will do just that. I think the Packers just have no shot at this. I just don't see them being able to stop Waddle and Tyreek Hill in this situation. Their defense is not it's not what we expected it to be. It definitely was. It's definitely
has been good as of late, man. They've been getting after the play.
Overall, throughout the whole season, I think this defense has let us down, especially as to what we thought could have happened with this defense.
Yeah.
With the talent that they have. I just don't see them being able to.
They've had a lot of injuries, but
yeah. I don't see them being able to go out there and just make stops and to win the game.
It's a tough task.
It's too much, asking too much.
Yeah.
That the Dolphins offense team is just way too stacked for this defense.
Yeah.
So I'm picking Miami.
Sweep.
I like it. Trevor and Eddie are going to be wrong on a couple of these picks, and I can't wait to talk about it. But that is where we have a couple of these little previews for NFL Week 16 picks. We will give you our full slate before the kickoff on noon tomorrow on Saturday, and we'll let you guys know what our picks are. We'd love to hear from you. Hit us up on our live chat on YouTube. Subscribe. Hit the notification button. We'd greatly appreciate it. We'd love to hear from you guys. That's why we do this. But that is where we're sitting at right now. We need to get to our final preview of the week, which is going to be the Chiefs hosting the Seattle Seahawks. Now, as this game currently sits, the Chiefs are 10-point home favorites. The over-under is sitting at 4.5. The Chiefs, if I'm not mistaken, have won, it looks like 7 of their last 8 games. Chiefs have won 7 of their last 8 games. The Seahawks have lost, I think, 4 of their last 5. That is correct. They've lost 4 of their last 5, and both these teams are going in opposite directions. But this is a matchup where I really want to pay attention to a few things. So, as crazy as it sounds, man, Geno Smith has been one of the better quarterbacks in the league this year. He's been in the MVP discussions. I don't think he's going to be in it anymore. But this guy's numbers have been really, really good this season. He has 20. I think he leads the league in completion percentage. Has 26 touchdowns, only 8 interceptions. Has one of the higher quarterback ratings in the league this year. DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett have been unbelievable again this season, as you would expect. Their running game with Kenneth Walker has been awesome. The Chiefs obviously have the number one scoring offense, just under 30 points a game. The Seahawks have the 7th with 25. Their defense is actually, this is where it tails off a little bit. So the Chiefs are 20th in scoring points per game allowed, with 23 points per game that their D is giving up, while the Seahawks are giving up over 25 a game, which is 30th or 29th in the league. But again, offenses are really close. The Chiefs are number one in yards per game. The Seahawks are 13th. Pass yards per game, the Chiefs are first, where the Seahawks are 8th. Rush yards per game, the Chiefs are a lot better. They are 16th to their 22nd. And where the Chiefs' offense, the Seahawks' offense really separates is time of possession. The Chiefs are 8th in time of possession, where the Seahawks are dead last. They're not really good at extending drives and making long drives. Third down efficiency, they're both really good. Chiefs are first, and the Seahawks are 12th. Where they really do separate on the defensive side is in the sack column, where the Chiefs are actually 4th to the Seahawks 15th. So they're an average defense at getting to the quarterbacks, where the Chiefs have been really, really good. So you look at the Seahawks, they've been a very weird team this year. They have 5 games this season where they've scored over 30 points, and then they've had 5 games where they've scored under 20. Whereas the Chiefs have been consistently right around the 30-ish mark every single week. And they have both teams have several or a number of 40-point games this year, so they've been able to really turn it up. I know that right now, as it looks like the Kenneth Walker for the running back for the Seahawks is questionable, I think, right now. He's banged up. He may give it a go. And if he does, that would be a significant difference for the Seahawks.
And Tyler Lockett, I think, might be out as well.
Tyler Lockett is going to be out. He has a broken finger, but Pete Carroll said he's optimistic he'll return for Week 17, which is next week, obviously. But I want to look at where this matchup really sticks for me is for the Chiefs' defense. Again, Geno Smith has been one of the better quarterbacks in this league. He's been a top 10 quarterback this season.
Pro Bowler.
Very, very effective quarterback this season. Very efficient, getting it to his playmakers and letting them create. The Chiefs have had 4 games this season at home where they have faced quarterbacks that have been playing at the level of Geno Smith. They played Justin Herbert, Derek Carr, Josh Allen, and Trevor Lawrence. In those games, the Chiefs allowed a 68 completion percentage, 291 yards per game, 10 passing touchdowns, so only 1 interception, with a 109 quarterback rating. Now, where the Chiefs' defense has done really well against these guys is they had 10 sacks in those games. 5 of them went against Trevor Lawrence, and then an additional, 2 went against Justin Herbert. So 7 of those 10 went against those 2 guys right there. So the pressure hasn't exactly been the issue. It's been the coverage downfield where it's been a big problem. Now, the Justin Herbert, Josh Allen, and Derek Carr games, they did not have Trent McDuffie. So that was a big absence for the Chiefs. So you can defend them in that regard. But I'm going to be honest with you guys. I think Geno Smith could have a really good game this week. I know Tyler Lockett will be out, and that's a big loss. But we've seen, and we've been talking about it all day today, it doesn't matter sometimes whether those teams that the Chiefs face on the defensive side have their premier targets or not. Texans didn't have Nico Collins and Brandon Cooks. Did not matter. Didn't have Dameon Pierce either. And it was still a very competitive game to the end, and it was an overtime victory for the Chiefs. So I am expecting the Chiefs' defense to struggle in that. I think Geno Smith is going to put up some good numbers because the Seahawks are a desperate team. They still have a chance to make the playoffs. They were 6-3. They're now 7-7. They have a real chance of making the playoffs still on the NFC side of things. They win 2 more games, they're in the playoffs. They're going to come in here with every intent of upsetting the Chiefs. And I think they'll have a really good shot of doing it. The only difference is, and I know it's simplifying, is Patrick Mahomes is going to absolutely detonate on this Seahawks defense. This Seahawks defense has been giving up everything in the air. Whenever they have faced a good team, a good offense, and it's only been a couple times this year because, believe it or not, the Seahawks have not really faced the gauntlet of great offenses this season when it comes to passing defense or passing offenses. And I'll show you guys in just a second as I pull it up. So this season, the Seahawks have only faced notably good quarterbacks. They faced Justin Herbert, and they have faced Derek Carr, really. Outside of that, they've not really faced any good. I guess you could throw Tom Brady. I guess you could throw Kyler Murray in there if you wanted to be really nice, but Kyler was terrible this season. But in that game against Justin Herbert, They allowed 37 points. And in that game, I'll look the numbers up real quick. Yeah, Justin Herbert threw for 293 yards and 2 touchdowns, completed 65% of his passes. And then against Derek Carr, they give up 40 points. Derek Carr he completed 69% of his passes, nice, 295 passing yards, and 3 touchdowns. So they got exposed against these two quarterbacks, and they also happen to be AFC West quarterbacks. And if we know anything about Patrick Mahomes, in 8 of his last 9 games, he's thrown for at least 320 passing yards and at least a touchdown. And again, the Chiefs have a lot riding on this game. They can't afford to lose this game, because if they lose and the Bengals win, the Chiefs not only don't have a real shot of winning the 1 seed, the Chiefs will drop to the 3 seed.
Yep.
So there's a lot riding on this game for the Chiefs, and with Patrick Mahomes having a healthy stable of guys, McCole Hardman is expected to be back. He's questionable right now, but they're expecting him to be back. Joe Tooney's obviously playing, and Kadarius Toney's going to be playing. And they're getting Blake Bell back. And their defense will be more stout. I'm going to throw it out there right now. I think this is going to be the highest scoring game of the week. I think the Chiefs are going to score in the high 30s, maybe even early 40s, and I think the Seahawks can flirt with 30 in this game. I don't think either defense is going to put a stop. Now, I know, Trevor, I don't want to take away from what you said, but you feel very confident about a potential beatdown. I would believe that if Geno Smith was showing signs that he couldn't go on the road and do it, but he has. And I would love to give the Chiefs defense a ton of confidence, but whenever they have faced good quarterbacks, especially at home this season, they've been getting shelled really bad, almost allowing 300 yards, and they've given up over 2.5 touchdowns per game. And only 1 interception? That's the problem with this Chiefs defense. They don't take the ball away, they don't turn the ball over. And the Chiefs have had 9 consecutive games with at least 1 turnover. This could be a situational game. And I'm going to give the edge to Patrick Mahomes because I think Patrick Mahomes is by far the best quarterback in the league and will be the best quarterback in this matchup and is going to have over 400 yards and 4 touchdowns in this game. But this is going to be a close one. I think the Seahawks are going to come in here and give the Chiefs everything they possibly can and will fight and claw and be a better version of the Texans. But the Chiefs will just do it just enough to get this victory, man. I'm picking the Chiefs in this one, guys, but I think this is going to be a matchup that we're going to have to pay attention to, and I do not expect this to be a stress-free game because the Chiefs just don't like giving us those. And when you face a good quarterback like Geno Smith, I don't see that being a realistic scenario. And the Chiefs, offensively, have actually been a better team on the road this year than at home. So I'm expecting a lot from the Chiefs offense to reignite the woes, or get rid of the woes they've had at home against good teams. I think the Chiefs are going to win this game, but I don't think it's going to be by a big margin. Trevor, what are your thoughts?
The Chiefs are -10. They're 10-point favorites heading in this game, and I would tease it to 14 because I think we're going to win by more than 2 scores. This is a game I feel really good about. They're coming in. So I'm a big believer. I always harp on this in the show: momentum and trends. You said yourself, they were 6-3, now they're 7-7. They're a team that's trending downward in a massive downward spiral. They just continue to find ways to lose games. Geno's been turning the ball over a lot more, and I think this is a perfect opportunity for us to right the ship on the turnover ratio here. I think I think we forced at least 2 turnovers in this game. I don't think we missed any kicks. And I don't think we have any more than 5 penalties in this game. I think Pat goes out there and just absolutely dominates this game in every way. I think we run the ball well. I think we throw the ball well. I think Travis Kelce could have a huge game here against that secondary that has the safeties. Just they don't have the guys they don't have the personnel that can hold Kelce in this game. I think this is a blowout. I think we blow them out here. I think this is like I said, trends. I know we struggled against the Texans, and I know we have to win this game. So that for me is enough to feel very confident. And typically in a double-digit favorite with the Chiefs, I typically will see our whatever, if we're up by double digits, like 14, 10, or however, I would take 7 points off and tease it down to like 3.5 or something like that because we tend to always play down to the competition. I think we know that this offense of the Seattle Seahawks is capable of putting up points against us, and I think we're going to come up prepared for that. And I think this is a great spot for our defense. I know you think it's not. I think that's right at the time when you should count on them because I think this is one of those moments where Chris Jones is healthy. I think we're gonna make Geno Smith's life a living hell in this game. I think we're really going to get after him. And when he struggles and he's he's under pressure, Geno Smith craps the bed a lot in situations like that. Now, I've been watching the Seattle Seahawks the last few weeks, and he's had some terrible interceptions thrown when he's under pressure. And when you force him out of that pocket and he's not comfortable, he makes bad mistakes. So I think that's what happened. I think McDuffie gets an interception here in this game. I think we have a couple turnovers in this game. I might have just shown my hand on who my guy is in this game, but I love the Chiefs in this spot, man. I really, really do. I think this is a big opportunity. It's going to be really cold. It's going to be just one of those games where who's going to outdog who. And I think the Chiefs know they escaped an overtime victory against the Texans last week, and we know who we are. Pat knows who we are in this offense. Andy Reid knows who he is. We have an identity. The Seahawks don't. They still don't know who they are. They're a team that tries to find ways to win, and they continue to find, as of late, have continued to do nothing but find ways to lose. And that's a perfect matchup for the Chiefs to go feast on this kind of team that's spiraling down. And I think we've put them to bed, and I think their chances of making the playoffs goes away in this weekend. And I think the Chiefs are the team to do it. We know we got the Raiders looming, or we got the Broncos looming and the Raiders. We got 2 conference games coming up back-to-back, and I think this is a perfect game just to go put them away early. I think we go up early, and there's possibly a chance that Chad Henne makes an appearance in this game. I know we felt that way last week, and it didn't happen. I'm gonna continue to put that theory out there. I think this is a game where Pat goes out there and throws 4+ touchdowns, and our offense just absolutely rolls. We got everybody back outside of McColl. McColl actually might play. I don't think that's happening, but I know we got Kadarius Toney the second week back. He didn't do much this past week. We didn't have him on the field too much, but I think this is a week where you can really get him involved. Get some trickery out there, some jet sweep stuff that we kind of been missing with a player like that, a gadgety guy that can do those things with McColl being out. I think our offense has kind of missed that, so I think this is a week where we can really open things up against that secondary. I think we can go do whatever we want against that defense. I know they've been okay at times, but I disagree. I think our defense is in a good spot here. I know that sounds weird. I know that offense can't put up points 100%, but they have also looked awful in times, and they're without their number 1 receiver, Tyler Lockett, who's been their number 1 receiver this year. That's a massive loss, and I think Goodwin might not even play either. If Kenneth Walker is out, that's a lot for that offense, and you know what I mean? So if we can just bracket DK, keep him under wraps. Granted, we struggle against those big, fast receivers. I get that.
I was going to say, make that sound easy.
I get that. I get that, but they don't have much else outside of him, man. If we can find ways to keep him under wraps, I think we're going to destroy this team. We don't have to. The Chiefs have no reason to go out here and destroy this team, but I think we do it. I think we go out there and put up north of 40. I'm with you on that, but I don't think they score more than 25. I think we destroy these guys. I really do. I feel really confident about this matchup. I think it's cold. I think this is one of those kind of games where Pat just goes out there and just, the whole I can sling it in anything or I can spin it in anything. One of those kind of games where Pat just goes out there and lights it up and strikes some fear into the Broncos heading into this next matchup. They got to watch that film. I just think this is like a fun offensive week for us. I think we just go out there and roll them.
Oh, God.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
You guys want me to say who I'm picking?
Well, yes, Eddie. Obviously, we want you to... No, just sit over there and look at us.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm picking the Seahawks. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Hey.
No, I'm picking the Chiefs. I don't expect a blowout, just for the simple fact that we didn't get one with the Broncos. We didn't get one with the Texans.
Should have been with the Broncos.
Should have been with Broncos. Should
We're
have
not
been
turning
with
the ball over
Texans.
this week, bro.
Yeah, we cannot turn the ball over.
We're not doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I expect a close game. I think I'm with Lentz on this one. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game for both offenses. I think our defense is going to struggle to be able to contain DK Metcalf and be able to put any serious pressure on Geno Smith. We've struggled with that pressure this past couple weeks. I think our woes are going to continue into this week in that pressure realm. So, yeah, I mean, I expect this to be a close game, a back and forth, just to, who's going to outlast who. And obviously, we all know that Patrick Mahomes is going to do his thing. He's going to go out there, put up over 300 yards, a couple touchdowns, be himself and carry this team on his back like he's done this entire season pretty much. So, yeah, I mean, trying to lock up DK Metcalf, it's going to be nearly impossible for our corners in this game. That dude's a big man, and our defense has struggled against big receivers this season, and I don't see it stopping against the Seahawks. Yeah, their quarterback might not be the greatest, but he's good enough to carry this Seahawks team to 6-7 weeks that
Pro Bowl this year.
Nobody predicted. Absolutely nobody. So. I think it's going to be a fun game. It's going to be cold. It's going to be very, very cold. So it'll be fun to see how the quarterbacks handle the cold, how the teams adjust to the cold. Obviously, the ball doesn't travel as far in the cold. Are we going to see a lot more 4th and 1s in the other team's side, or in your own side? Are we going to start seeing a lot of that? Are we going to see long field goals? Are we going to even see field goals? It all depends. So it's going to be a very, very fun game to watch. But I do have the Chiefs winning.
Here's a couple things. Trevor, you mentioned earlier when we were doing our Week 16 picks about trends. You look at the Seahawks side, yes, and you even mentioned it earlier when you were giving your take on the Seahawks. The Seahawks have lost 4 of the last 5 games, and all 4 of those games they had at least 1 turnover, and in 2 of those games they had multiple turnovers. And every single one of those losses was a 1-possession loss. So that even as bad as the Seahawks have been in the win-loss column, they've had multiple opportunities to win all of these games.
Who they played in those games?
Let me look that up real quick because I was actually looking at the Chiefs' schedule. Here we go. Let me look. So they were playing in those losses. They played Tampa Bay in Tampa. They played the Raiders. They played the Panthers, and then the Niners.
Right.
3 of those teams are probably going to make the playoffs, though. And that's
not
what
the best offenses. I mean, the Raiders have been decent as of late, but
in San Francisco.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying,
it's a divisional game. They know each other well.
Absolutely.
Those games are always good.
My point in that is when you look at the flip side of things, the Chiefs have not blown out or won convincingly against any good quarterback this season. So against Justin Herbert, both times they only won by 3. Against the Raiders with Derek Carr, they won by 1. Now we can talk about officiating because that definitely played a part. Lost by 4 to Josh Allen. Beat Trevor Lawrence by 10. I guess that'd be a convincing victory. I'm going to give the Chiefs that one. I'll go ahead and give them that one. So that's 1. And then lose by 3 to Joe Burrow. What I'm saying is they haven't had a lot of convincing victories. And if I look at the turnovers, we talk about how the Chiefs have a real problem with turnovers. It's going to give the Seahawks more life. If the Seahawks turn the ball over, that's going to give the Chiefs life. So I feel like that's going to be a little bit of a wash. And when I consider the fact that the Chiefs, again, have not played great at home against good quarterbacks, I feel like there's going to be ample opportunities for the Seahawks to play this game close. And that's what I'm looking at right now. So I hope you're right about this because I would love to believe that finally Spagnuolo can scheme up a defense to where they can slow down a good quarterback at home. They just have not done it so far this season. And if I'm going to go off the trends, I'm going to believe this is going to be one of those games where Patrick Mahomes is going to have to win it for the team. I really do. And especially like you said, there is nobody on that Seahawks defense that's going to come close to stopping Travis Kelce. If, in fact, they decide to go Travis Kelce's way 12, 13 times in this game. If they throw the ball to Travis Kelce 12 to 15 times in this game, man's going to have 150 receiving yards and probably a couple touchdowns.
I believe there's going to be some big plays drawn up for Kadarius Toney this week, too.
Thank you. Because what I think, guys, is happening is I think we're going to start slowly seeing Travis Kelce on a pitch count going into the postseason. Last time I called that he scored,
by the way. So.
Yes, you did. I will say this. I think that Travis Kelce is going to play plenty in this game. I don't think you're going to see him play 50 to 60 snaps. I think you're going to see 30 to 40 snaps for Travis Kelce in this
we'll be
game.
Up by 20.
Hopefully that's the case, but I think that you're seeing it over the last couple of weeks. I know he's been dealing with the illness.
Yeah.
But I also know that he's 33 years old, and they're trying to have another deep playoff push.
We got the Broncos next week, so rough bunch.
Physical game, 2 physical games to start the season, end the season off against divisional foes. You know the Raiders are going to try to play the Chiefs as tough as possible. They're going to try to play spoiler. And it's in Las Vegas, which I actually kind of like for the Chiefs, but we can get to that when we get to that. But yes, you have back-to-back home games against teams that are going to try to beat you with everything they got. And Russell Wilson will be healthy next week. That may or may not be a good thing for the Broncos. I know one thing is for certain. We are going to get the best attempt and effort out of the Seahawks. They're going to come into this game with everything they got. And Pete Carroll's one of the best coaches. One of those guys, man, that just gets you amped. It doesn't matter if it's at home, away, doesn't matter. You're going to get the best version because we know this game's going to matter to the Seahawks. They're playing the Chiefs. And so I think this is going to be closer than what we want to give credit to. I know you want to hammer the minus 14 because you're teasing it up. I just don't think that the Chiefs are a team that does that against good quarterbacks this year. And I want to believe that. I want to believe it's there. And if they do it, then I can start believing that. It's a lot with Harrison Butker. If you start showing me that you can be reliable, I'm going to give you that credit. I will always give you that credit because I want to be fair. But the Chiefs' defense has not given me that enough this season against good quarterbacks to think they're going to go out there and win by 2-3 touchdowns. I just don't see it. Especially at home. For whatever reason, the Chiefs have not been as good as a team at home. They've just not been. They've been a much better road team. I don't know what that is. It's just a thing. The fact is, the Chiefs are going to win this game. Patrick Mahomes has won 15 straight games against NFC opponents. He owns the NFC. That's why I said if and when the Chiefs get to the Super Bowl, call it arrogant. I don't care who they'd face. I'd pick the Chiefs, and I'd pick them comfortably.
100%.
Because he owns the NFC. But this is going to be a game. I'm telling you right now, I think this is going to be a game, guys. I think Geno would not shock me if Geno goes out there and throws for 300 yards and a couple of touchdowns. Would not shock me, even without Tyler Lockett. I have to give them their respect. I have to give them their due. Yes, they've lost 4 or 5, but all 4 losses they've had chances to win.
I'm going to double down on my prediction. I'm going to say DK Metcalf doesn't even have more than 70 receiving yards.
Ooh. Oh, man.
Fuck.
They gotta have to find somebody else, and it might be Noah Fant. It might be one of their tight ends. It might be throwing to the running backs, which they do a lot. They got DJ Dallas out there playing, a couple of guys, which we can allow chunk yards. We've seen Marlon Mack from the Broncos have that big little dump off play and scored a touchdown, so that could happen. But I think we find a way to keep DK Metcalf at bay because they're without Tyler Lockett, who's been their better receiver this year. As much as you want to talk about DK Metcalf being this beast, and then we do struggle against those prototypical type of big body guys, 50-50 ball kind of guys. I just have a good feeling about this matchup, man. I do. I think Tyler Lockett was the guy I'd be more afraid of because he's a speedy, kind of over the middle kind of guy that would burn. It was more of a burner. DK Metcalf, he's big, he's strong, but he's not like a Mike Williams. I think Mike Williams is, and plus they have a better quarterback throwing those guys the ball. Mike Evans, obviously, guys like that tend to have big games, but that was garbage time. You know, a lot of things like that. There's a lot of things that kind of add into that. I don't know, man. I just have a vibe about this game. I think we go up big and early, and I think there's a good chance Chad Henne plays in this game.
Does it not shock you, though, just because we talk about trends again? The last 2 weeks, the Chiefs have given up 28 and 24 points to the Broncos and Texans, who are the 2 worst offenses in football.
And they know that, too.
But that's what I'm saying, though. They knew that going into those matchups, and they still got outscored by the Broncos.
And the Seahawks are a better team than both of them,
right? But
by far.
But what contributed to a lot of that? Turnovers. This is why I started my statement off of we're not turning the ball over.
It's a trend, though.
Patrick's going to go off. We're not going to have more than 5 penalties because penalties, and I said no missed kicks. Penalties, missed kicks, and turnovers is what kept those games close. Those should have been blowouts if we didn't do those things.
Can I ask you guys a question real quick?
If we don't do those things, we have to be blown out.
We have to bring up officiating real quick.
Sure.
Cleet Blakeman is the head official in this game. The Chiefs are 4-6 again when Cleet Blakeman is an official. And
that is a
one
worry.
of those games.
I'm picking the Seahawks.
One of those. That's what is that? 38% of Patrick Mahomes' losses of his career.
Yeah.
So Cleet Blakeman was the official in the AFC Championship in 2018 with all those horrific penalties, like the Chris Jones when he slapped Tom Brady's nipple and they gave him the roughing the passer. Like, I'm worried about that. I am worried about that. Having Carl Sheffers and Cleet Blakeman in back-to-back weeks when we know the NFL has Chiefs fatigue and they want Josh Allen and Joe Burrow to be those white knights. We know they want that.
Yeah.
I do think that's going to play a factor. So you're right, Trevor. Maybe the Chiefs don't turn the ball over in this one. I'm going to lean that they do at least once because they just do that. And bad officiating has been something the Chiefs continue to get every week. I think that's what's going to keep the Seahawks in this game, along with Geno playing very well this season. I'm going to pick the Chiefs. We'll go around for score predictions after we give our key players in this matchup. My key players in this matchup are chalk. Patrick Mahomes is going to go out here and obliterate the Seahawks defense. And think about it. It's a perfect opportunity for do so. Think about it. They stay in stride with the Bills because the Bills are going to beat the Bears, right? They got Carl Sheffer, so he's going to make sure of it. They're going to stay in stride with the Bills. Jalen Hurts misses a game. Patrick Mahomes goes out there, throws for 420 yards and 3-4 touchdowns against the Seahawks. Get a victory. That's going to solidify the MVP. So that's all going for Patrick Mahomes. So I'm not even going to go too far into that one. The defensive side of things, man, because if Trevor's right, it isn't going to be Trent McDuffie in my eyes. It's got to be L'Jarius Sneed having the game of his life.
He also got snubbed in the Pro Bowl.
And there's a lot of motivating factors also for L'Jarius Sneed after the season because he can get paid. You go out there and you put up the game where he gets a sack, a strip fumble, a recovery, or a pick six. This is a game that gets L'Jarius Sneed paid. Because this is a game where you can finally put together a trend positively against a good quarterback at home. I think it's L'Jarius Sneed for a lot of reasons because I do believe that Spags is going to use him in the blitz packages. He makes a big third down sack or a strip fumble, like I said, on a 2nd and 9, 2nd and 10. All of a sudden, the Chiefs get life, get a short field, get another touchdown, and maybe Trevor could be right about going up 24-10 at that point.
It's a good call because Geno struggles against the blindside corner blitzes and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Those are my two guys. Trevor, who are yours?
Offensively, it's Kadarius Toney. I like him. Second week back from injury. we know Andy Reid likes those kind of guys. And the last time I called this, I said they have a play drawn up for him. They had a couple drawn up for him. I think he caught the first ball too, and then he ended up scoring in that game as well. So I like Kadarius Toney. I think he's actually going to get some good work this week. I think they have some plays drawn up for him, and I think he has a good chance to score again this week. Whether it's a jet sweep play or some just drawn up play, there's going to be a specific play for him, maybe a couple of them. So I love him this week. And then defensively, it's McDuffie. I think McDuffie makes a play here. He's been getting kind of burnt last couple of weeks. He's allowed a couple big plays. So I think this is a kind of a moment for him to kind of reestablish himself. This defense as a whole needs to kind of reestablish himself and kind of have a gut check on who they are. And this is why I feel good about this game, because we've been getting shredded, and the turnovers been setting our defense up to fail a lot too. So I think this is the get right spot. It should have been last week, but it wasn't. We let ourselves down defensively and turnovers and stuff. So I think this is a game where we kind of start correcting the turnover ratio, and our defense plays really well here. I think McDuffie makes a play in this game. I think he might get an interception. I'm not sure if I call that or not, but he might have a couple really good plays downfield. Maybe on DK Metcalf, the guy that I don't have having over 70 rush or receiving yards this game. So I think he's going to be a big part of that. I truly believe in McDuffie. I think he's a legitimate little lockdown corner in this league. I think this is a game where he really reestablishes that confidence that he has in himself and who he is and what we believe him to be. So I love Trent McDuffie in this matchup.
Man, I'm going to Patrick Mahomes in this one, offensive wise. I was gonna go Juju, but I just think Patrick Mahomes is gonna have.
Go McKinnon too. My God.
Yeah, I just think Mahomes is gonna have one of those games where it's just like, I love that we have Mahomes in our team.
I got 4 passing touchdowns for Pat this week.
I think he's gonna go fucking off in this game. Juju's gonna probably catch a touchdown. McKinnon might catch a touchdown. Pacheco might run in one touchdown. It's gonna be fantastic. So I'm gonna put Patrick Mahomes, especially the way he played last week. He can carry that over, break one record, and then kind of help himself to break another record down the season. So yeah, I'm expecting Mahomes just to do his thing. And then defensive wise, this is a tough one. But man, who can I take in this defense? Fuck it, I'm gonna go Juju. I'm gonna go Juju as my second player. I just don't trust this defense too much to make any serious stops in this game. I think it's going to come down to Patrick Mahomes and this offense. I think this offense is going to have to carry this team to this win, and I do think Juju and Patrick Mahomes, the connection that obviously we've seen. Sure. We've seen it against the Texans when Juju went 10 for 10. Amazing.
Well, he was a big part of that reception or that.
He went 10 for 10. Travis Kelce went 8 for 8, and then McKinnon 7 for something like that. Crazy, but. Yeah, I think him and Juju, the connection that him and Patrick Mahomes have is starting to flourish, and I'm loving what I've seen from Juju. Yes, he fumbled the ball, but that was a bullshit call in my opinion. I think that fumble shouldn't have counted.
Progress.
Such bullshit. But yeah, what Juju has been doing for this team, I really hope we sign him soon. As soon as we can sign Juju, we should do it immediately. I don't care. He's been such a great addition to this team. The chemistry that he has with Patrick Mahomes now towards the end of the season, it's what we wanted from Juju. So we got what we wanted. So yeah, I'm gonna go Juju.
I like it. And when it comes to the score, I've been kind of all over the place, but I had high scoring no matter what. And I look at the Seahawks this year on the road. In Detroit, they scored 45. Against the New Orleans Saints, they scored 32. Against the Chargers, they scored 23. Against the Rams, they scored 23. They're an offense that I think can pour it on if they give the opportunity to, and I think they're going to. I think that Geno, like I said, is going to get 2 or 3 touchdowns in this one, and I think they're going to keep the Chiefs on their toes. I think that the Chiefs' offense is going to have to go out there and play a good game. And like Trevor said about knowing the opposition as to why their defense is going to play well, I think that's actually why the offense is going to play well this week, because they know the opposition and know what their offense can do when given opportunity. Which is why I think the score is going to be very, very high. I'm expecting it to be the highest scoring game of the week, and I have the Chiefs pulling it out by a touchdown at 38-31. and I think the Seahawks are, like I said, they're going to score some points. It's going to be trading some blows early and often in the game. My concern, honestly, for the Chiefs is, can they finally get some opening drive touchdowns going on? Can they come out in the first quarter and put it on the Seahawks and put that pressure on there, get the fans out there, motivated? Because, I mean, they're giving out tickets right now, man. I mean, it's going to be cold as hell, and I don't blame people for not showing up, because as much as I love this team, if it's that cold out there like that, and I would have a hard time enjoying that game. We've done it. Eddie and I did it back in 2018. Trevor and I did it growing up. It's going to be hard for that fan base to stay active and stay alive, because everybody's going to be trying to bundle up and stay warm. You got to give them some juice early and often. I would love to see the Chiefs defense go out there and make a play early in the game. I'd like to see them get the Seahawks uncomfortable on their scripted drive, and I'd like to see the Chiefs go out there and put it on them early. I think this is going to be one of those typical Chiefs games, though, where they start out very slow. Defense is giving up plays, a lot of stupid penalties, turnovers, and the Chiefs find a way to pull out the victory, and it's because Patrick Mahomes is the MVP. I have them squeaking this one out 38-31. Trevor, I know yours is going to be very different. Let's have it.
40-25. Chiefs, obviously.
Eddie.
All right. I'm going to go 34-31 on this one.
Yeah, close game, yeah.
Close, very, very close.
So that means you got your guy Harrison Butker playing a good game then?
Yes.
Okay. Because that means you'd have 4 touchdowns and 2 additional field goals. Okay. I like it. All right, that is our predictions, guys. That is our scores. Let us know what you guys think about this one. How do you guys see this game going down? Hit us up on our YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button and let us know what you guys think, man. We'd really appreciate it. Guys, we have one more order of business that sends you. What is it called? Hold this L. Each and every week, we finish off each and every episode with a series of L's in the world of sports. Whether those L's are friendly or not so friendly L's in the world of sports, we promise you, who's ever holding those L's in the world of sports deserve those L's in the world of sports. Mr. Eddie Ortiz, Mr. Yo, I'll throw it back to you. Who's holding the L and why is it F1?
Not F1. Come back to me in March with that question. I'm gonna give it to the Patriots and Jacoby Myers. the way they ended the game against the Raiders in Vegas is one of the most shocking things I've ever seen. I didn't see the play live. I didn't even know it happened until Lance told me, he's like, hey, did you even catch the end of the Raiders game? I was like, no, what happened? And then I went to text.
I saw that shit live, bro.
I went to Twitter, and that all I saw was Jacoby Myers' name just going everywhere. I think the players went rogue on that last drive, on that last play. I think they had decided to go lateral for God knows what reason. The game was tied. It was going to go into overtime because the time had run down. There were 0 seconds left on the clock. And the running back decided to lateral it to Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers runs back and decides to throw it back to Mac Jones for I think it was 20 yards behind. It doesn't even come close to Mac Jones. And then this leads to Chandler Jones just completely pancaking Mac Jones. Mac Jones couldn't even do shit. He just literally pushed him to the ground like it was nothing. And obviously we saw how the Raiders won. I bet Bill Belichick was not happy with what happened. I'll be shocked if Jacoby Myers plays the full game against the Bengals. I mean, man, after that I would have just cut him. Fuck it. It was just terrible decision making. I don't know where it came from. Like I said, I think the players went rogue on that last play. I think they weren't expecting to break that, was it like a 30, 40-yard run? And I think with that, what that happened is they immediately clicked. It was like, fuck it, let's end the game. So they started doing laterals. Yeah, man. I mean, there's not much more you can say. I'm sure you guys seen the play. It was just terrible. Terrible.
Yeah, he was trying to throw it back to Mac Jones, which was like, bro, why?
Yeah. It's not like Mac Jones can't throw it forward.
Well, he can't run for shit either. Like, what do you think he's gonna do with the ball in his hands, bro? He's gonna panic.
He has to fucking lateral it back, and nobody's behind him.
Down.
So yeah, the game was over. The game was. I mean, the time was over. It was gonna go to overtime.
I've never seen anything like that in my life.
It was gonna go to overtime. There was no need for that. So this is what happens when you don't have an offensive coordinator. Just gonna throw that out there again. Patriots' own fault.
Put it out there.
Yeah. So Patriots. Jacoby Myers, you're gonna have to do me a favor and
hold this L.
Yeah.
Trevor Twill's holding the L for you this week.
Man, listen, it's Christmas weekend. I'm in the mood for positivity and giving out wins instead of losses. So I'm going to give out 2 W's, and I'm going to keep them in the vein of the Chiefs here in the Chiefs Kingdom. Just keep things positive for me in this weekend of family and gift giving and things like that and charity. So my guy Patrick Mahomes decided to gift all his teammates. I don't know if you guys saw it. He bought every single one of his teammates a beautiful set of golf clubs, which is a pretty cool thing. If anybody who plays golf knows clubs are not cheap, so he got him a nice.
It's probably sponsored by him.
I'm sure. Hey, he probably. I mean, he's
he's the
$500 million man. So I mean, either way, if he bought him a nice one out of his own pocket, I'm sure that's not a big deal for him. So yeah. So he got all his guys those golf clubs, and I'm sure they're all appreciative of that. I mean, for those who play golf, especially, probably are. So that was a good W. I like that one, and then I also want to keep it as well in the Chiefs locker room as well. My guy, my all-time favorite player at this point now, Travis Kelce, joins the 99 club again on Madden for the 2nd straight year. The best tight end to ever do it. I just want to give him my kudos and congratulations on that. No one deserves it more than him. I think he's the only tight end to ever have it back-to-back years in the 99 club, so congratulations to him on that. I think Gronk had it a couple times, but it was never consecutive years. So congrats to Kelce for that. And he was all over social media. This is a big deal for a lot of these players. It's not that big of a deal to me, but I love seeing my guy happy. So couldn't be happier for him. 2nd straight year. Let's make it a 3rd next year. Why not? So I just want to give out those W's and keep the positivity from my end on this Christmas weekend, man.
I don't understand it. Trevor, decides to not give out L's. Doesn't feel right. It doesn't make sense.
It's a Christmas weekend, man.
Yet here we are, and I have to do it. I have to be the one that
I'll let you do
puts together.
Scrooge over here.
Yeah. Well, it is. Your guys are going to enjoy it because it's it's going to be fun for you guys. So I remember putting out a tweet a while ago in regards to shut the fuck up. Putting out a tweet a while ago in regards to Trevor Lawrence about how I don't see special. I think this guy's extremely talented. I think he's got a lot of skill sets and gifts that I think very few quarterbacks have ever had coming into the league. But this first year and a half, up to about halfway point of the season, I didn't see it. I was like, man, I really want to see it because I remember I called that shit. I said perfect head coach for Trevor Lawrence is Doug Peterson. And what do you know? A month later, they signed Doug P. And I'm like, all right, hell yeah, perfect. I want to see Trevor Lawrence be special. I just didn't see it for like 9 weeks or so. And I put that out there. And what do you fucking know? As soon as I start saying that shit, guess what Trevor Lawrence looked like? Special. Yeah, since November 6th against the Raiders, the Jaguars are 5-2. Their only one of their only losses against the Chiefs, which understandable. But the man is completing over 70% of his passes, is averaging 273 passing yards per game, and I'm counting them right now. He has 16 passing touchdowns, 1 interception, and has 6 games of at least 100 quarterback rating.
Ridiculous.
That's pretty fucking special.
And he's been playing good teams.
He's been playing good defense. Just went on the road in rainy conditions against one of the 5 best defenses in the league. A team that had to win that game.
Back-to-back top 5 defenses.
Thank
the Cowboys
you.
The week before.
Played the Cowboys. He put up 318 yards and 4 touchdowns.
40 points.
318 passing yards and 4 touchdowns against the Cowboys. He only had 229 yards against the Jets. But again, he was moving the ball across the field all night long against Tennessee in Tennessee.
I think he had about almost 50 rushing yards as well.
Yes, in Tennessee against a very good defense, 368 passing yards and 3 touchdowns.
Jesus, dude. Yeah.
I mean, Baltimore, 321 passing yards, 78 completion percentage, 3 touchdowns, 0 picks. Against the Chiefs, 73 completion percentage, 259 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 picks. Like, Trevor Lawrence is starting to become the guy. And I can't believe I put that out there. I didn't say he couldn't be. I'm saying I didn't see it regardless. Lance Twidwell, Lance has spoken, whatever the fuck you want to call my dumb ass. Go ahead and do me a favor and hold this L.
I mean, talking shit never works. This month, we've seen it.
Work,
as our guy Nick Wright would call him, the prince that was promised.
The prince, he's promising for sure, man.
I said he was the best quarterback out of that draft, but my favorite guy was Justin Fields. Both those guys are looking good right now, man. So, yeah, Trevor Lawrence is a stud, bro.
I love what I'm seeing from him. And I'm never, ever ashamed to put that out there. Well, I'm not going to end there. I got one more L. I gave out
2 dubs. You got 2 L's.
This one's fun. This one's real fun. So, do you guys remember back in October when we heard about this guy named Corey Yeomans. If you haven't, he caught Aaron Judge's 62nd home run. About a month later, all the offers were coming about how much he can give up that ball for. He had an offer for $3 million a month later to give that ball away. He turned it down and decided to put it up for auction. He finally closed for $1.5 million. He made half of what he could have made on that initial for $3 million, and instead putting up for an auction, which, by the way, going up for auction for anything is literally meaning you're going to have to put it up for a sale, because the lowest bidder is always going to be the guy that adds to the next bidder. But if you don't get a higher bidder than that, it stays right at that number, which is always starting at ground floor, which means it isn't starting at $3 million. It'd be one thing if you put it up auction. All right, starting is at $3 million. Can I get 3.5? Can I get 4? Can I get 4.5? No, it starts at $0. So your auction is always going to be a percentage lower based on just improbabilities. You're not going to end up getting more than $3 million. If you already turned that down, they're going to be like, oh, well, you're not, no, there ain't no way I'm giving you $4 or $5 million off this. So the man literally settled for half of what he was initially going to get for one of the most historic baseballs in the history of baseball. Man, I got to auction you one of these. It's a letter. Do me a solid, Mr. Corey Yeomans, and hold this L. My voice cracked when I said
sucks.
that, too.
Hell. It finally dropped, huh?
They're there now.
Congrats.
By the way, Salt Bay, go the fuck away, bro. What are you doing?
I'm surprised Eddie didn't chat on that one, man.
This has been
Yeah.
This has been a long, fun-filled episode, man. Something we very much needed around here. Things are looking good, man. I think that although the Chiefs have problems and we very much addressed them and gone in depth, I am still confident in this team. I still think that they have the best head coach quarterback combo in the league. It may not even be all that close. I am worried about the Bengals, as to be expected. We got a lot of stuff coming up before the playoffs, and we will definitely be breaking down the playoffs coming up soon. I cannot wait for that. But this is what we got right now, guys. I hope you enjoyed the show. We had a lot for you. Let us know, man. Like I said, be vocal. Get us going on what you guys think is going on with the Chiefs or league-wide, any other sports topics you guys want to address. Throw it in the comment box. We'd love to hear from you guys. Hit the subscribe button, man, because that's what we're trying to do here on YouTube. Definitely working hard to get that going, guys. But in the meantime, I wish you guys nothing but the best. Merry Christmas to you guys. Happy holidays to you guys. Happy New Year to you guys. And that's where we're going to leave it, man. Hopefully for, viewing a good weekend of football. And I hope you guys are ready for it. Stay safe out there. If you guys are out there in inclement weather like we are here in Kansas City, be safe out there, guys. Don't drive drunk. I know you guys are probably going to parties. Call somebody, call an Uber, do something like that. Please be safe, guys. We want to keep you guys around as long as possible because that's what makes this great around here, guys. And just staying safe is the key in all this. But in the meantime, for Trevor Twidwell, for Eddie Ortiz, for the great Clay Windler that puts all this together on the back end, I am Lance Twidwell, episode 198. God damn, we're getting close, man. Almost there, 200. Episode 198 of the Spoken Podcast is done, finished, and finito. And until we are here in 1 week's time talking about a potential Chiefs victory and maybe even have the 1 seed by then if the Bears can help the Chiefs out a little bit. Thank you, Carl Jeffers, in advance. In the meantime, we out of this bitch. Merry Christmas.
See ya.